allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're starting a little bit late. My apology. Welcome to the Monday, April 20th, 2015 Town Board meeting. Please remember to put your phones on mute and to please notice the exit signs behind you to your immediate right and left, as well as behind us to our left. We need an approval for the minutes.
The 27th, Harley, the second and the sixth are not in your packet, and it's just the 27th.
Okay. Then for
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second the motion. Second the motion.
Who was? This was for the 27th? All right, so we were all present, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
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 Upcoming meetings, dates, and give me a moment, please. You want it? Okay. Upcoming meetings for the balance of April. Today is the 20th. We have a ZBA meeting scheduled for 7:30 p.m. On Tuesday, April 28th. As most of you know, we have Operation Clean Sweep. George, can you give me well enough? We have Operation Clean Sweep coming up for Saturday, April 25th. This is an annual event, and it wouldn't have been an annual event if it hadn't been for the efforts of Charlie Finnerty. Remember, Charlie passed away this year, and each and every year from now on, Operation Clean Sweep is going to be dedicated in Charlie's memory. So to him, thank you so much for all the things that you did in making Monroe a better place to live. We have the town compost facility. We have the town compost facility for Saturday, April 18th through May 23rd, open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Saturday, May 16th, the Monroe Historical Society will be hosting its third event at the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center at 36 Movies Made in Monroe. And it's Saturday, May 16th at 2 p.m. There'll be further announcements for that. I'm going to go a little out of turn here because we have a guest speaker who wants to talk about some of the issues regarding recycling and garbage. And it's not a very attractive subject, but it's a heck of a necessary one, especially right immediately after the thaw, where the roads and the sides of the roads are in their worst conditions, and what we can do, and some recommendations that we're absolutely looking forward to listening to. There is some concern, and I've been asked by a number of residents, in this case I have three here in particular, regarding salt levels. Their claim is that and according to the analysis of tests that were done in their wells, they're claiming that the town is responsible. Ordinarily, and again, and I have to thank Dennis for this, because part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to just stay out of the executive, and tonight we don't have to worry about attorney-client because our attorney's not here, and try to discuss these matters as openly as possible. There are three people that have complained. I have the results here. I had sent you folks, meaning the board members, a summary of this, and you have, I believe, you have the emails accordingly. It is, and I wasn't here for the other special meeting with Tony Rizzo, Highway Superintendent. Unfortunately, he's not here this evening. But it's something which we're going to have to address. And I'm asking the board for a little bit of guidance on this, and if Mr. Rizzo was here, some guidance on this as well. We have claims that the salt, and I don't think it happens overnight, but they're claiming that it did happen. We're responsible for it, is the allegation, and that they want us to do something about it. Well, it's kind of hard. What do you do? Well, they have what's called, and the ward is here, and they probably go on and on about this one. We have what's called a reverse osmosis process, which is extraordinarily expensive, which doesn't seem to be a possibility. Or we can dig deeper wells. In the case of one of the complainants who lives up where one of our former councilmen lives, he's at 140 feet. So we could drill deeper if it was found that the town did have some type of a responsibility. However, before we take that route of admitting anything, I think it would be prudent for the town to secure the proper type of authority. And as well-intended as the board members are, as well-intended as the highway superintendent is, I think it's come to a time where this risk of possible contaminations, risk of occurrence, is something which I think we need to bring in somebody that has a bit more of an expert background. We're going to need it sooner or later, and the sooner we do it, I think the better off we're going to be. So if Mr. Rizzo was here, I would ask him to agree that the board is authorized or authorizes me to seek either through Cornell or through the Department of Transportation or through the Association of Highway Superintendents to secure an expert in this category, because it's something which, again, we're all elected officials. It doesn't necessarily give us a PhD in road or highway or any of these matters. So, Mr. Rizzo, we're talking. I mentioned about. I have 3 complaints, and they certainly aren't complaints against highway. They're complaints of contamination of their wells. One is over on Links, the other one is over on Gatehouse, and then there's a third one.
And it's also Gatehouse.
And part of the problem is that we're going to have to respond eventually to the allegations. None of us have degrees in advancing the amount of use. We're all elected officials. We try to do as much as we can. I know I don't even have a CDL license. Most of you in this work certainly would have one. But the problem is that, and I'm repeating this, is that this is going to be pushed forward. The test results for the alleged contamination is pretty severe, and I had thought that with your help and with the board's support that we might be able to look at either Cornell, Department of Transportation, the Association of Highway Superintendents, or someone, an expert who actually does this as part of their for a living, an authority to be able to guide us through this process, because no matter what we say, we're going to have to rely on the expert testimony if it gets to that point. So that's where I have it. So if you'd like to discuss it.
I commented on that by Mr. Burke brought it up last meeting, and like I said, I've been in the water chemistry business for 28 years. I don't have a license in New York, but I have several agencies that I used to deal with, and we have our own test equipment, or my own test equipment for testing salt, and the calculations and evaluations were done on the stream directly next to a salt supply. And the ecosystem had cleansed itself in a matter of 3 weeks. We can take samples of that well. Anybody can take samples. And we could bring it up to the appropriate labs, or we could do on-site testing and see what we come out with. If we need several agencies, they are available. Taking water tests again, we should do an on-site water test, and right in front of the people, and with a board member and or a representative of the town. This way they can witness the testing and do a flush of the well. And there are materials out there that can decontaminate salted wells. sodium chloride specifically, and they could bring their well back, whether it's contaminated from road salt, and this is on Links.
Links, Gatehouse, and I don't have the other address.
Okay, Links, it's Gatehouse also. Okay, Links is not a road that we service, only the upper part of it, excuse me, not the lower part, and as we all know, as wells are drilled deeply into the ground. Excuse me, into the ground, and of course the lowest part of the well would absorb the water. All that runoff from that area goes into a storm system, which is at the bottom of the hill. And like I said, we'll be happy to take the testing and to save the town a lot of money, if you like, the highway superintendent to conduct that with a witness, of course, and an agency. We could save a lot of money, or we could send it out and have it done and have a backup test done to conclude if it is sodium chloride, or it could be a water softener in a house that's malfunctioning that also uses sodium chloride. And you know, there's been instances where salt intervention to get rid of iron, manganese, and a few other materials related to minerals can overshoot and dump as much as 1,400 milligrams per liter in someone's drinking water within their household. I've seen it many times. Again, that would be a decision from the board, but I would suggest we start at the lowest minimum to save the town and, of course, the taxpayers' money, and see if we can resolve this. Drilling a new well will only make it deeper, and the surrounding waters will still infiltrate the well. So coming to that source of the problem, again, it should be handled immediately.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes, go on.
Mr. Rizzo, would if you do a test of the well, would we be able to make a determination of where that sodium infiltration has come from?
Well, it's sodium chloride, like I said, it links, all the homes are up on a hill. So when you salt the road, of course, it flows downhill into the storm drain system.
Right.
So from that, it goes into the storm drains, and I believe it empties out in the
I understand,
southwest part.
Would we be able to definitively tell if it was road salt or a natural occurrence?
Well, sodium chloride, unfortunately, is used in well applications as well as road salt.
And softeners.
And softeners. But we can define the type of salt by taking a sample of their salt and, of course, comparing it to the sodium chloride we use on the road.
Right. So, would you be able to do that with another member of either the board or maybe someone else from Highway Department?
Absolutely, just like we did the testing around the town waterways.
And at least put these people's mind at ease, and if there's something the town has to do, then we'll get it done.
Yeah. See, a lot of people
Rick,
understand.
with me, and it's my, and I apologize for not having the agenda for you. I printed out the copies, but it's downstairs, and
No,
if you wait for me, it's
okay.
My apology to you. So you're a little bit hamstrung on this one because they have their analysis here. They did that. They did it on their own. So for us, they did what is actually being suggested that we do now. I had thought, and again, this isn't that it's going to cost, it's just merely to accumulate the information on who, if we chose, because I think we will have to choose, someone to be able to do an evaluation. At least we have a list of people, whether it's from the Department of Transportation. It's, again, it's just for the purpose of direction. It's not to hire anybody. It's just to be able to secure a list of a name or names from the different agencies or somebody who really does this for a living, an expert consultant, to be able to help us through this. Because if, and I'm assuming we will get whacked with lawsuits, this seems to be the tone of the letters.
Well, the thing is, was it done raw water directly from the well as a state, or was it done at the faucet in their household?
I have it from, and I don't think I'm compromising anybody's privacy here. We have it from, one is from OCL Analytical Services, is one. We have another one.
Again,
Sorry, the two. We have two from OCL Analytical Services.
a little investigation should be completed first, and to determine where the samples were taken and determine if the samples were taken correctly, and then determine it. If it's salt from the roads, then a well flush could be done, and materials, biodegradable materials, can be added to the water to neutralize the salt.
I suggest a two-pronged approach. One, the town board will look to see what consultant what might work best for the problem. And the other problem would be that the highway superintendent talk to these three homeowners, see what you can tell them and see what they can tell you. So we're not talking about water conditioners and salt from the other places. So if you could get out there and have a conversation with these three homeowners, I think you're already volunteered to do that. So.
Oh, not at all. But the problem is you're not getting to the issue. The thing is that I would have somebody. I'll go along with them to take raw water from the well, and as well as the sample from their faucet.
I would suggest you just talk with them first.
May I make a suggestion
At that point, I don't know if that'd be a great idea, but I'm happy to do it.
May I make a suggestion at this point? Why don't we just refer this to our water department? We have a private contractor that's taking it for the town. We are paying him. Let him look into it, along with Mr. Rizzo if he likes, and get them out of resolve. They can report back to the supervisor, and we'll know what to do from there.
I agree.
Yep.
Sure, we put them two in the same box and see what happens.
Either case.
That will not work. Our water administrator is very busy. He's got other projects he's working on. I, for one, don't want him doing this. I want him to take care of our water systems.
Well, that's what he's
and not be dragged into an argument over how wells got too much salt in them.
Councilman Burke, we're not in an argument of,
I see we're slip into it. I'm trying to be calm.
Excuse me, board members, please. Well, I'm not asking for us to commit any money. I'm simply asking the board, hopefully with support from the highway superintendent, to be able to track down whoever might be in this business. This is something which is completely unknown to me, because we are the suggestion is that we've contaminated X amount of wells.
Right.
It would be in the town's best interest for the town board, and hopefully with the support of the town highway superintendent, to say, you know what, go see, these are the list of names, what do we need to do to make sure that if this attempt by the three owners moves forward, that we have some way of being able to be ready to be able to respond, whether we're responsible in whole or in part, but at least we have somebody there. And this is not something which an attorney can tell us. It's something which only an authority in this particular area of expertise can. So I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for the authority and the support by the board and the highway superintendent to just be able to go and get a name or list of names, and we can take it from there, because that's going to take time. It's an unknown. So it'll take, by the next board meeting, I'll come back to you, I'll keep you apprised of what's going on, all of you, and you can talk to them, you can talk to the individuals themselves. Maybe they have some suggestions. Maybe this is a natural occurring thing that, in nature, I don't know. I'm just looking to, I'm anticipating a problem, and this problem can be extremely costly for the town. However, this board and the superintendent wants to do it, it's up to you.
I have no problem with that. Going to speak, you already have the letters from the homeowner stating there's a problem.
Right.
My estimation would be to bring a professional in, okay? If, like I said, I'm not considering myself a professional, but I have all the test results that I've taken from waterways. In my estimation, given experience that I have, is that a waterway, right after the winter, that contained 1,300 milligrams per liter, which for a waterway, acceptable limits according to the DEC is 200. Okay, to be reduced in a matter of 2 weeks, okay, to 300 milligrams per liter, that tells me that the surface water and the surface waterways are cleansing themselves. The ecosystem has a way of doing this. And there's a lot of support I have from Cornell and other organizations to back this up. We already have the allegation. My suggestion would be to either hire a professional or a water testing company, take the 2 samples of the raw water, then you know exactly, for it's a minimal cost, maybe only a few $100s, and you'll have actual proof that if it's contaminated or not. And this way, you'll have, any situation that from that point on you'd like to do, at least you'll have the backup to approach the homeowners, and this way there's no controversy.
Gentlemen, that also means that we have to get the approval from the homeowners to be able to have the testing done.
Yes.
Asking them, I understand, I'm simply asking for permission to go and seek out someone in this business that knows the matter.
That could do the testing.
Right.
That could be a suggestion to
I say
vote
yes.
the highway and to the town board.
I say yes.
This is in other words, this is the amount of use of salt this town uses. It's either a lot or it's a little. It's more than everyone else, or it's less than everyone else. It's right on target or it's not on target. And let them do the analysis to see whether or not the data makes any sense for or against the claims that are being alleged against the town regarding the contamination of the wells. That's it.
Sounds good. Sounds
It's
good.
not that difficult.
Sounds good. When you look into that, all right.
But someone make a motion for it then.
I'll make a motion that we look to get a list of professionals that we could use to do such testing in the event that we will need to make our own test for comparison's sake.
All right, I'll second the motion.
Can we discuss it?
There might be others that come forward that have solved problems, so it'd be nice to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks and see if whether more of our citizens are having this problem.
There's no cost to the town on this.
I just made the suggestion of our water contractor that we're contracting out because I thought that would be the most expedient for these people. That's all I was trying to
It's
say.
not a bad idea.
Let's put them on the list.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're paying them for.
Fine.
Put them on the list. And then
Okay, fine.
get some others.
Yes, good.
All right.
I'd like to, Fort Brower informed me that one of the members of this Conservation Commission is a hydrogeologist, and he may be able to assist us in determining or establishing some factors and how to go about this process so that it could be used in the future as well. And then along with the motion that's already been made by Councilman McQuaid, I know it says that we would look into getting someone else to do the testing. I would like to take that further. Let's go back to the folks who have complained, who have already tested. Let's do a retest, as the superintendent of highways has recommended, that it could have changed over the last few weeks now that the winter is over. There's been some rain. Let's see what the salt level is. And part of that we would also want to do is see if the salt is something that could be traced back to the salt we use on the roads or the salts we use to soften the water in our homes. So those are the kinds of results I think we would like to find out. I'm not doubting the testing that was done by the homeowners that they've attached. Let's see if there's been any change. I think that will help us determine or figure out if possibly where some of the salt might have come
And
from.
that's a fabulous idea. See, the thing is that we as homeowners don't use a lot of water in our wells, so it's a matter of just flushing as the ecosystem does. A well has to be done, flushed out, sodium chloride. Like I said, most tests are taken, from my knowledge, at the water faucet inside the house. It's not taken from the raw water in the well. So if the water is softened in the house, you're going to get higher limits. That's why a lot of physicians state, watch if you have a water softener and a heart condition, because the sodium levels are very high. This is all documented through the New England Journal of Medicine.
I think we should proceed with the motion at hand, but I would very much like to have that expert go out. First of all, talk to our resident hydrogeologist who's a member of the committee.
And let him
Let's go
recommend
from there.
the testing.
Yeah, and let's go with the testing. Give permission, talk to the homeowners, ask their permission, and let's go with it.
Fine.
Okay, so we have one motion, then let's get that one done, and then we'll get to the second one. Dennis?
It's the same thing.
Okay, because call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so I'll go look, and then at the same time, we will ask our resident hydrogeologist for any recommendations that they may have. Okay? All right,
Next.
He's actually here tonight.
he's here.
Go ahead.
Pass him after.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Bob. Hey, Bob.
Don't leave.
I didn't know it.
We want to talk to you around midnight.
We have a young lady, one of the residents, Rhonda Alba. Sorry, Alba. Would like to come up. Rhonda had asked if she could speak to the board and speak to the community. And if you remember last year, she lives over on White Hill Road.
Berry.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I live on Berry, but I travel
Berry.
White Hill.
And she's had a chronic problem of garbage and
Litter.
litter.
Overall.
All right.
But you're talking about Clean Sweep. Clean Sweep is just one time a year, and it's basically 17M. What I would like to see, and I'm sure a lot of other townspeople would like to see, is that it happen a couple of times a year, especially in the spring, not during the hot summer, but during the spring and the fall, when the wind is crazy. First of all, I've spoken twice before, asking that the green and blue containers that the town provides just disappear. Have the garbage company come take them up and just remove them, and people will come out and say, oh, where's my recyclables? Garbage, whether it be recyclables or regular garbage, has to be in a closed container. Otherwise, it gets spewed all over the roads, whether the animals get into it or the wind knocks over the garbage can that doesn't have a cover to it. Every garbage can has to have a cover, or garbage in it has to be contained some way. I've been talking to the highway department, Bob in the highway department, and Anthony, and Mr. McQuaid about all the garbage on Rye Hill. Last week, the wind has been fierce. People put out their garbage on Wednesday, Rye Hill Day, and the garbage just blows over and goes down the street.
Yes, I know. We called that day. I went there and picked up myself.
Yes, he picked up boxes of garbage that were just in the middle of the road. Cars had to literally get out and move the stuff out of the
I spoke to people that were renting in that particular house, and I would ask them nicely to secure their garbage bins or lock your garbage bins because we want to send up someone here to charge you to pick it up.
Even Bob came up on
Yes, he did.
yeah, this past week, somebody, a bear or an animal had gotten into somebody's garbage and taken and spewed it all over Rye Hill. The homeowner leaves for work, doesn't care, but found out whose garbage it was because there's information in garbage. And you knock on their door and they give them a phone call at work and tell them that, you know, your garbage is spewed all over the road, can you please pick it up? And they did the following day. But people have to be responsible for their garbage. And people are in a hurry, I mean, people litter all the time, they throw their stuff out. I walk my dog every day, and I'm always picking up Budweiser, Bud Light, Smirnoff vodka bottles all over my road. If they just put a police officer on my road and do a check, I'm sure you find a couple of people not legal.
If it's garbage taken by an animal or the wind, the police officer won't really.
I know, but it's
do
all the
anything,
beer bottles. There's people just throwing
Yeah,
stuff
it's
out.
a
On my
hazardous
yard,
bottle.
they throw it all out. But what I'm asking is that the blue and green containers disappear. In most communities, everybody's required for closed containers.
We
We
have
get
that,
rid of them.
we have that requirement, I believe,
If
don't we?
we do, then we're not following it by giving everybody those green and blue containers.
Not recycling?
Not recycling, just garbage containers.
I have them on both on mine, so.
But if you get rid of them and just have the garbage company just pick them up and make them disappear, and people then would be required to somehow contain the recyclables, whether get another garbage can or to tie them up in some heftier construction bags.
Well, I suggested the lady to bungee cord the lids to the garbage can, so it would give it, or chain it to give it a little more security. I don't know if she's done it or not, but I will follow it up.
All right, but, and just to hire somebody, the town could hire somebody, we have enough money, the town's not a lack of funds, to hire somebody, a couple of weeks a year, people call in, and, you know, could you please take care of this road, or take care of that road, pick up the garbage. Rye Hill from house 136 up is, you know, a landfill. Flat grass is not supposed to listen. You're supposed to be able to drive in the morning and not see sparkles.
Well, right now, we're talking about expanding Clean Sweep. I spoke to a few organizations, volunteer organizations, and the thought has been enlightening to have members of these volunteer organizations clean town roads instead of just state roads. So maybe we get together with Clean Sweep and maybe the volunteers, and we could pick certain sections of the town to clean it up.
Could we also include our neighbors in Curious Joe on a Sunday as opposed to a Saturday?
Yeah, we've been doing our best to pick it up, and the town has been proactive to hire
Because Police Week's only on Saturday, that
Yes.
doesn't include them, so we should include them and we should all do it together.
I would like to see
So a
it
whole
at least 4
weekend.
times a year, you know, or more. But having the volunteers come out and do that, it does get costly if the town goes out and does it. They've done it on previous occasions, but it does get costly.
You know, 17M, with all those plastic bags, across from Stop and Shop, it looks terrible. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Right.
Somebody, you know, good that they do it once, you know, do that
Once a year.
17M, but you have to do it more than that. Rye Hill, Lakes Road, I've spoken to the highway department in the county, the county roads. Lakes Road, they worked on it last week. They only did a part of it from Trout Brook Fire Department on to Greenwood Lake. They didn't do from Trout Brook, which is like LaRue and School Road, all the way into town. The gutters are full of floating garbage. You know, there are lots of drainage, and they're all floating in garbage. Nobody's done that.
Not to interrupt, but the West Monbassia Road also was done last week.
Yeah.
I will contact the highway super in the county and see if maybe we can have a joint effort.
A joint effort for what?
Town, Monroe, village.
They say they only do their roads, we only do our roads.
Well, Lakes Road goes all the way into the village, so, you know, the county, that would be county.
Lakes Road, where does Lakes Road become village and where does it become?
Approximately at the triangle. In town, that little triangle, you know, the old water wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because they didn't
A little bit
do
before
all the
that.
way down. From LaRue down, they didn't do. You can see the designated garbage where they didn't do it.
Well, now there's
And
no,
LaRue and Orange Turnpike, these are all roads.
LaRue, we're up there doing work, we pick up as much as we can, but people, I've seen them toss things out the windows.
Well, they should be fine for that, if you see them, but I never see them throw the beer bottles and my bottles on my lawn. It's late at night and they're just driving home throwing them out, but I go and pick them up every morning. It's just getting
If
crazy.
you'd like to catch them, well, what we're doing in Highway and Proactive is get animal cams. They're $78, and you just mount it to your tree with infrared technology, and anybody that comes near there takes a picture or video.
It has a wide view for the
Yes,
whole.
it does. It has 280-degree view, and it has, I believe, 60-something pixels. Believe me, it works.
All right, but yeah, I would like to get rid of those green and blue containers, and that's what I'm asking for. And, you know, with the week of Clean Sweep, if we could lessen the amount of garbage, at least by 50%, we could contain the garbage, so that it actually gets to the garbage where it's supposed to go.
What's in recycles?
So, you think maybe we could get rid of
Ms.
the
Apple, let me ask you, I know that last year.
I asked the same thing.
No, but your request was honored. We have to go, we have to make a motion. I'm assuming that Ferengi, who did the work last year, would charge a price similar to what this year. But if it's what the board would like to do, it would be to redo what we did last year over where, in the area that you live in. I believe that's part of Rye Hill Road and part of, so.
I do vary myself.
If the
Very
board-
taken care of, it's Rye Hill that I
If the
drive.
board recalls,
Stage Road too.
if the board recalls what we did, if you want to do that, we can make a motion subject to what the amount was by Morangi and hold them to that price from last year. We can hold it off until the next town board meeting and decide, and Peter can help, to see what a more,
Well, actually, if you don't mind me interrupting, Ms. Avila made the call. I went out there on a weekend, I forget what day it was, a Sunday, I think it was, with one of the representative for Rangy Karting in Monroe. We drove a few areas where we got complaints from the constituents, and we checked it out, and there was quite a bit of trash thrown out on the sides of the roads, and it was quite messy.
On Rye Hill, there's an apartment building,
Yeah.
a small, like, two-story, three-story
It's like
thing.
6 family.
And they had this green tarp the other day, it was covering their mailboxes, this strip of mailbox. Now the green tarp is blowing across the road. When the wind comes, it's gonna blow on somebody's car, and they're not gonna be able to see where they're going, because it's flying in the air. It's like a big balloon, and the tarp is lucky to hit that.
if there's something, and that has to, bear with me. If that has to do, I'll call Ben Maldonado from Building and see if there's any enforcement on his end regarding that, because that would be something I think outside of the scope of the board's authority.
But it's across the road now, it's blowing all over.
If it's an apartment building, we can have code enforcement get hold of the landlord, because the landlord would ultimately possible. If there are people.
Their tenants are just
If
littering
it's
all
the
over.
tenants, it's still the landlord, they get the bills. So we'll have to look
I had,
into it.
I had the 3 different areas where we got complaints from, and we went out and checked them out that same day. We saw you over there,
Right.
exactly. And here's the thing I felt was good. Like last year, we had about 8 areas picked up. We had an issue about where we were getting the money from. With Peter's help, we took it from the right area of the budget. It also was a good thing because there were at least 8 areas in the town that were really kind of an eyesore, and as you mentioned, can be dangerous for traffic and everything else, and people walking along the roadside. So I asked Morangi for an itemized proposal. I have 3 of them here. I just got them today, so we can give them to the other board members. I can tell you that the Rye Hill spring cleanup from Berry Road to Mine Road, with labor for the workers, the flagman, the disposal of the solid waste estimated, and the disposal of a couple of tires that were there, 5 of them actually, would be $1,495 for that one. The Forest Avenue cleanup from the bridge to the Village of Monroe line with the labor disposal and disposal of tires would be approximately $1,109.50.
Is that the woman who, is she here?
I'm right here.
Miss Munch?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's one of the people. Yeah, from that area, right? There was another resident who also complained. There were several complaints from some of these areas. So that was the estimated cleanup for the Forest Avenue, from the bridge to the Village of Monroe line. And then the proposal for the spring cleanup of 7 Springs Road was with labor disposal, which is a much longer stretch and was even messier. I had 10 tires there that were seen. Would be $3,500 and $3,589 even for the total cleanup of that road, which would be
Approximately
more time, more waste, and double the tires.
6,000.
6193.
6,1. Right.
That's the total, Peter?
6,1.
I just got this today.
6,2.
I think we're talking 2 different subjects, although, you know, it's litter. One is there are 3 spots that are especially dirty, so we want to spend $6,000 to go out and clean them up. And the other is our guests has come with a generic problem, that there is litter, that garbage green containers do not hold it. Let me say a couple of things. One is Clean Sweep is next Saturday, and any citizens that want to go there can pick up the equipment and go back to their home road and pick up the litter near their own houses. So that could spread Clean Sweep out a little bit farther. And second is I take care of Lower Rye Hill Road. I live at 11, and from Stage Road to just down to my house, I patrol it, and yeah, I'm always picking up stuff. It seems that after people turn the corner, they finish their McDonald's food, Burger King, whatever, down it comes. So I just keep picking it up, and I try not to moan while I'm doing it. But and then when I put the recyclables out, I don't want to seem preachy, but I do a clear plastic bag. So everything's in a clear plastic bag. It's tied up, and then it goes into the green receptacle, and then nothing comes out of it. The animals aren't interested, and all that stuff is clean. They're not gonna go in there. So I mean that's a micro solution, but I think we should talk about the generic first. And what are we going to do about litter? How can we make this a better and cleaner town? And then the second subject, which is we got 3 spots that are $6,000 worth of trash on them. So if we could work the discussion that way, I'd appreciate it.
If I may.
Can I say one thing quick, Dan? You made a good point. I think what we should do, and this would be a board decision, is with the town's approval, I think we should do like maybe a public service announcement on the channel, and maybe try and maybe put something in the paper too, because I think it's something that people have gotten into a bad habit, and sometimes it's hard to create good habits out of bad. But I think if people really knew how much it was impacting the town, and the highway superintendent can attend that these things also clog up the culverts and different drainage systems when it gets bad, that maybe people would just stop doing it to some extent. I think we could try and get something out on the station, and also maybe put an ad in the paper or do something to try and wake people up a little here.
Councilman McCoy, it's a great idea, but let me just add to that. I think we should put an ad in the paper for volunteers who are willing to clean up the town and to make the town better without costing the town money. You know, we could try that first. You know, I've done it. I went out when Rhonda,
Yes.
when she had a complaint, I cleaned it. When the lakes had garbage all over the areas, I cleaned it myself. And then we got dumpsters, and actually the dumpsters have kept out so much out of the waterways, it kept it from clogging the water of Walton Lake overflow, which used to get clogged all the time, and the dumpsters helped that. And that can be done on a seasonal basis and not having them all year round. Putting them in every location in Monroe gets costly. But maybe we can put the ad in the paper, and maybe we can have another clean sweep or several clean sweeps throughout the year.
Yeah, but on the side roads too.
On the side roads too, that's what I mean, not just on the main roads. And try it that way. You know, maybe we'll get 5 people, maybe we'll get 100 people. You know, and then if that doesn't work, then you gotta go to Plan B and Plan C.
But half of it would be taken care of if we could just insist on closed containers and get rid of those little things that people pile sky high and.
Again, that would be a, I guess, town board decision to put some sort of locking mechanism on the garbage pails or.
Not just recycling.
The only way you're gonna do it.
She's talking about the small recycling.
Right.
First off, recycle bins.
First off, the recycle bins that we are giving out are way too small.
They don't even hold that much.
They don't hold that.
Well,
People are recycling much more.
Their answer is so.
Okay, the thing is that if we stop getting them, we can't use them anymore. And then people have to get their own and put a top on it.
How about this? Let me call the manufacturer who makes them and see if they have a cover.
How much is that?
Well, why don't you just have
And it
it
costs more than $2 a piece.
Can you talk into the microphone, please?
Why can't you just insist that everybody have a garbage can, for recyclables?
We're looking into that. We're looking into that. There are some towns that have given
Actually, it's probably
large
the best idea. Why can't we have, because we have one for regular garbage, why not just require people to have one for? Because I think the question is being asked, well, what would it cost to replace the green ones without the lid? No, I'm on your side. To just make it easier, perhaps, to require that people have a closed recyclable container. I don't think it's puts that much of a burden on the
Put an
homeowner.
ad in the paper saying that the green and blue containers are now being removed and have the garbage company just make them disappear and insist that the townspeople just get another garbage can or put something and put their stuff, recyclables in another container.
You know, that's a great idea.
Nobody has to spend money, but.
But back in the 80s, when I was a village trustee, we did not
Ladies and
have.
gentlemen, you can keep your voices down. We have a councilman speaking, please.
We did not have garbage pickup here unless you actually purchased it for yourself from an independent contractor. And I was part of a committee, a 4-village and town committee, included Woodbury, to determine whether or not it would be feasible and cost-effective to have a centralized or paid-for garbage pickup system. I thought that was a great idea because if you have to contract yourself, what would happen was the people who didn't want to pay would drive around town and find all kinds of containers to throw it in, or they would just throw it in someone else's garbage who was already paying for it. So I thought this would solve all the problems. But I understand your point, and I think what happens, and I've seen it, maybe I'm making this up, but I think some people have the idea that when they put their garbage or their recyclables out on the curb, it's no longer their responsibility. It's now the garbage collector's responsibility to pick it up and clean it up. And that's not true. To your point, it's their responsibility. I did go around my own yard picking up garbage this year that had blown out of the neighbor's recycle can. Now, to your point, I would ask that we do an inventory of our green containers. Let's see what we've got. We may want to, sell them for other purposes. People may want to use them to pack some of their goodies in and things they don't use and put them in the attic. Time out. There are other communities. New Windsor is one, and I forget which other town it is. I used to drive to work up in Newburgh. Their company, their pickup company, did a hands-free garbage can removal. Their trucks loaded from the side, and what you did is when you put your garbage can out, and everybody had the exact same garbage can. One said recyclables, the other said trash. And the machine actually pulls the can up, dumps it, puts it back on the curb, they move to the next one. I would like to see something like that here. Either we come up with, get rid of the green ones, have people, pay $1 or $2 to buy the new covered ones. And let's see if Morangi can do something too in terms of how he picks up.
Yeah,
Is it possible that when he buys new equipment that he can do something?
What I was going to say is maybe the covers for the green recycle bins are very inexpensive. We have approximately 285.
No, that may be true, but then everybody's going to need 2 or 3 of the bins. Because in 1 week, if you have a family of more than 3 people, you're going to fill that bin up. And that's one of the fallacies too. So if you put a top on it, yeah, that'll blow away too. So I think we need to come up with a different idea. Year after year, we have to spend $6,200 or more to clean some roads and not others. Again, that's going to be an ongoing operating expense that we're all going to get used to, and it's going to grow over time. We need another solution. I'm done.
The good news is that people are recycling more. The bad news, it's not going to fit in that little green bin.
Absolutely.
So getting more of those bins is just a waste of time and money.
Well, the issue that
if people get another garbage can with a lid, I have 4 of them, and we recycle quite a bit, and that's what we have to use. And those little bins is not really holding anything. I mean, just on soft drinks alone and other, issues, and just even newspapers, it fills right up. I mean, and then some. Just going to have to change it. Those bins are really kind of outdated.
They're going to disappear. They'll figure out some way to recycle. They're smart.
We'll figure out something else, but...
Well, the thing of it is that you could either go one route where we have people buy their own, or as Dennis mentioned, there are some towns where they have, like over in Warwick, they have large recycling garbage bales. Looks like a real, regular garbage, but on the top it says recycle, and has a green top. We could talk to the garbage contractor in Monroe, see if they would provide something like that at whatever, cost it would be. And that's a cost, but we could look into that or have people get their own. But you're right, those small little containers are not that good. You're right about that.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may.
Sure.
Tacking on to Dennis's comments, the time that the little green containers were introduced is a time when people didn't really do that much with recycling. And now I think it's a good thing that we're seeing that the containers no longer are adequate for the job, because that means that a lot more recycling is going on than was back when we started the garbage district. So, I guess I tend to agree with you that the little containers have done their job, and it's a good thing. So,
I think our guest's main point is that those small green containers are now obsolete, and it's responsible for us. We're responsible to find a substitute way of collecting the recyclables without them blowing all over Dry Hill Road.
All right, I don't think we're all in agreement on this. I think we should, look into this and we'll get back to them.
Well, maybe by the next town board meeting, we'll be able to bring, as we just got the prices this afternoon, I'll distribute this to the other council people, and the next meeting, maybe we'll have a vote on it. I think people have different ways of looking at it, which is the way it is, and we'll do something, but it might be something different, but at least we have to.
Is there a reason why we would not want to make the motion now on this? I agree, I understand what.
Yeah, I haven't objected to it, because it's piecemeal. And we batted around what the big solution should be with a new plan, a new way of collecting recyclables, but we don't have a plan. And I'd like to see, somebody attack it and come back in 2 weeks and get us to agree on a plan for getting rid of the little green baskets. And then at that point, then spending money cleaning up the section here and the section here is a little more feasible. At least we have, at least we're looking at the whole picture instead of, as our guest said, she said she'd be here next year saying the same thing. So, and if we don't hold our feet to the fire, we won't do it. So I think we should put some pressure on ourselves to come up with a new way of handling this.
Well, last year there was 8 spots cleaned up, I believe, estimation there.
Ladies and gentlemen, could you please keep it down?
I also believe that the problem is with the volunteer thing, and it's a good idea, Tony, but I'm just saying, on some of these roads where you don't have much of a shoulder, you're going to get an issue of people picking up along a road where normally the highway or Marines would use flag people to protect them. And without that kind of protection, which you need to be an actual flag man to do, as you know, you would be putting people in a weird position. On 17M, it's much bigger shoulders, so you could obviously do that without flag people. But I think that's what we should look at. But I don't think we're ready to put this forward yet. But I'm on the idea of doing some more of it. But we'll see what the other council people say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, could we have the facility and maintenance manager take a look in some catalogs and see what a coverage can would cost, and we can get back and look at that.
Yeah, and I'll try to look at, and unless you know different communities, well, most communities have a similar kind of a problem. I don't know what the village of Harriman or KJ or anyone else does, but there's got to be some kind of a group that has some kind of a better solution than what we're looking at now. So I'll look into this as well. If you have anything, let me know. I'm always around, but between now and next town board meeting, we'll get you an answer, and I would venture, I guess, by the next town board meeting, we'll make a motion, hopefully to get your area cleaned up. And the young lady to, again, thank you. If all goes well, by our next town board meeting, someone will make a motion to get your area cleaned up. Good.
May I speak?
Speak, please. Yeah, come on. Both of you had asked to speak, so.
Thank you.
Maybe you could just state your name where you.
Oh, I got it. Thank you. My name is Colleen Muchler-Santoli. I'm coming to read a statement for my mother, Cecilia Muchler. She's not feeling well this evening. Mr. Dolis, Mr. McWaters, Mr. McQuaid, Mr. Colon, Mr. Burke, and other board members. My name is Cecilia Muchler, and I've been a resident of the town of Monroe for 44 years. I raised my 2 children here and been a contributing member to my local church for all of that time. My husband Tom and I have worked diligently to pay our mortgage and own our own home. Now I am a senior citizen, starting to enjoy my golden years, and get upset as I wonder what is happening to our town. Litter on Forest Avenue has never been the great issue that it is now until the past few years. Our home was situated in a wooded, peaceful setting, which I have enjoyed for most of my life. Currently, I'm subject to the surrounding lands being acquired by members of the village of Carish Joel, and have had to watch as acres and acres of surrounding wooded land is gutted clean of trees, turning what was once a pastoral area with deer peacefully grazing to a garbage-strewn mess. It's embarrassing to me, and it's a clear indication of how high-density building, such as the ones my neighbors have built, impact our town and the way of life in Monroe as we have known it to be. Being a religious woman, I respect all people. However, I'm concerned at how my neighbors treat me. You see, my house is on Forest Avenue, which is a direct route into and out of Carish Joel. Since high-density housing has been erected in my area. The amount of garbage on my road has led me to contact the authorities on several occasions. As I said before, I have lived here for 44 years, so I am a true testament to what the increase in population is doing to our town. You used to be able to walk your dog down the road and take the path to Smith Clove Park. With the current amount of traffic and violators of the speed limit, I wouldn't dare to walk the 200 feet for fear of being hit and left on the side of the road. You see, I live in a 25-mile-an-area road. Cars, buses, taxis, trucks, now they're speeding past all day, and the drivers are throwing their refuse out of their windows. There's an abandoned baby carriage in the ditch to the left of my mailbox, and I'm too old to go down, dismantle it, and drag it to the trash. I have done it before, but now I cannot. I ask you, members of the board, what are you doing to protect our town from being a polluted, garbage-strewn mess? What are you doing to protect the senior citizens of this great town that have paid their dues and their mortgages, only to face losing the value of their property after they have retired? What are you doing to defend me? Why should I have to sell my house? Because it's proposed that my husband and I take on the tax burden of a village that I do not want to be a part of. Am I not a valued member of this community that deserves to be represented? Do I deserve to live with garbage in my front yard and the fear of getting killed if I go on the road? My stone wall has been hit. Garbage is thrown in my front yard. A speeding car nearly killed my son. Now, after I've worked and did my due diligence, you disregard me. Let your conscience guide you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Mrs. Munchler was here about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And if you remember, she was a woman who had complained about the peddling. And it was something which we were going to visit and to make sure that that law was tightened up so that it included solicitations by people knocking on her door. It was something which she took considerable concern about, that people would just come up and inquire about her home for sale. I think she gives us, her daughter, who did a beautiful job speaking your mom's thoughts. We need to do that as well. We need to get that law, talk to Mike, and get that peddling law adjusted so that it includes what your mom had come up and spoken to us about, and that was the solicitation. Regarding the traffic, as you know, part of the traffic heads towards the village. We have a little bit of an additional problem because, as you know, that area is being expanded upon. There are two very large institutions that are there. It is something which the town board did not have a say in. It's something which had gone through a process. You know it, I know it. We know that the house at the bottom of right where that house is at the bottom of that new institution was just sold, I believe, to be able to make way for more growth. We have growth occurring there, and I have mentioned it repeatedly. Somehow, and if I recall, the other day, one of the town councilmen had mentioned about the Larkin Drive extension. This is an area of growth which has to somehow be regulated not only between the town board, the planning board, and the zoning board, but I had written, and we had discussed this, about doing an intermunicipal agreement with Orange County and Orange County Department of Public Works and the planning board and the DPW to make sure that this growth which is occurring, and I don't know how to stop it, there are LUPA requirements, which are, does anybody know how to stop it? And I'm talking about on this side. I'm talking about, no, ma'am, in all fairness, I'm directing it to you, but it's really to the general population. These buildings are there, they have planning board approval, they are built. How do we wind up making sure that the infrastructure is able to sustain it? Because there are LUPA laws, which is religious land use laws, which entitle people to be able to build. We can't violate those issues. We have to make sure that we're abiding by the law, but at the same time, how do we make sure that the resources that are under the ground and above the ground are protected as best as possible? So your mother, her cry is a cry of many people. And that entire corridor, straight from Target all the way to 208, is really a corridor of expansion. And how do we wind up making sure that we're fulfilling our obligation? The planning and the zoning board are doing it, but at the same time, again, the county winds up making sure it's giving us the information that it needs to be able to tell us where the water resources are coming from, where the infrastructure and the road's going to be coming from, where this Larkin Drive extension, which has been projected, where, when, and if it's coming, because we assume it is, but when, and how is it going to impact all of the other things that your mother's asking now?
I don't live near Larkin Drive.
You will be, ma'am, your mother, when Larkin Drive extension comes through, that plan is from Old Country Road straight through to 208. It's according to the Department of Planning for Orange County, it is coming. The question is, what do we need to do to make sure the impact is going to be as limited as possible?
The only way that Larkin Drive can connect with Forest Avenue is if you cut down all the trees. I grew up in an area where there was forest on 3 sides of my property. Now the back of it is completely sheer. And you're right, people have bought the property and they're building. I object to the levels, the many levels of how tall the buildings are, the high density housing. I've never had a problem with my neighbors in Carriage George. They've been there my entire life. My issue is the increased traffic, the garbage being thrown.
Why don't you come up? Because we usually don't do this, but you had asked to be put on the agenda, both of you, and it had to do with a very important issue, and this is a collateral issue. It's something which, again, the councilmen have made publicly their concerns about this Larkin Drive extension and the abuse of what is something which is occurring now, and it's going to be occurring as it becomes set forth in the planning board and at the zoning board level.
I understand, but if we're concerned about the environment and we're concerned about the integrity of maintaining Monroe the way we've known it, we need to be aware that the only way Larkin Drive can connect to where I am is if you completely gut all the trees, which has been done. And we need to be cognizant that those changes, if we're interested in and we're aware of, okay, maybe we made some poor choices. Maybe we can stop where we are now and maintain the integrity of the area. I'm not going to get into water and things like that right now, but you have an increase of traffic on roads that cannot handle that type of, that volume.
And we're agreeing with you. And
The thing you have to remember too is, we got on the garbage issue, the road issue, the traffic that comes by there, that speeds, that becomes a state issue, and at a certain point on the road, that becomes a Village Monroe police issue.
It's a direct correlation.
No, I understand.
And also the increase in the population and the type of housing and the type of the lifestyle of people who are living down the road. And I mean, a baby carriage. Never in my life have I seen a baby carriage laying in the ditch down the road from my mother's. And bottles of, the woman who spoke before me alcohol bottles, beer bottles, and we've seen that, things happen and you pick it up. We're at the point where the volume of the litter is very alarming, and it's also impacting my mother's way of life. And she's 70 years old now. Don't tell her I told you. And it's unfair.
Can I address one thing? I mentioned that Thursday night, and it probably didn't get any attention. Hopefully, at least Mr. Church may have heard me.
I hope so.
The Larkin Drive extension, just to clarify the point for those of you who've never seen the plans, is to run from the traffic light at, was it Freeland at that point? 105, and run in parallel to the Quickway. That road is to, when it reaches your mom's area, that road is to cut in front, between the school and the Quickway. So it won't come any closer to your mom's house. And then it has to go straight through to 208 and intersect with the, the cloverleaf or the loop they've got there now. And there would be a traffic control signal at that point. One of the things that I would like to move after we get that thing going is, I know there's an issue on Scunamunk Street. I know there's an issue on Forest. I know speeding is an issue. I know heavy truck vehicles, I know buses shouldn't be there, and by the signs on the road, they're not supposed to be there. What I'd like to see is to have, once the extension is in, have Scunamunk loop over to Forest and cut off all the traffic going across the bridge. I would like to see the extension become the other access to the village across the Quickway. Okay? So if those cars want to come into the downtown village area, they'll have to travel out to 208, make a left-hand turn at the light, and come into the community that way. I would like to see Scunamunk and Forest loop together and have no access to the Forest Avenue Bridge. But then again, part of that is village, but that's something we can try to cover another time.
That would greatly cut down on the amount of traffic and probably a lot of garbage as well.
And garbage as well.
But I understand exactly what you're saying, because I moved up here with my wife back in 1981 when we first got married. I remember 17 the Quickway at 6 o'clock, and it was, you can count the number of cars on one hand. Regrettably, it's more like the LIE down in Nassau County at rush hour. So it's not just here, it's the amount of building that is going all over, and I share the same sentiments as your mom did, because my wife and I, we moved up here from the city for the same reasons that she did. And there's a lot of changes. Not exactly happy with all of them, but I think that Dennis's proposal was probably the best one to cut down on Scunamunk. That would greatly cut down on the amount of traffic.
So what has to be done to make that?
Well, that's what we're going to have to work on with the county to try and get that to fruition.
Well, the county has the plans and the sketches, so, that part's all been laid out. I would imagine the next part would be the engineering.
And Dennis, and there is a major disconnect between what the county does and what we do. What comes before the planning board, the zoning board, and the town, there is very little, if any, coordination or review of what's going on. It was only because there was an incident with one of the properties on Larkin that it became obvious, well, what's going on with Larkin Drive extension? We weren't aware. There are aquifers there which are being used in a way which I believe weren't intended. And how did this happen? There's issues of right-of-ways, because the Larkin Drive extension is coming. However, there was talk about granting some easements or approvals which would have been right in that Larkin Drive extension. It was because we wound up notifying the DPW, David Church, we went back and forth, and I have the emails to support this, and the town board has it as well, that we decided to ask them to start a process of a coordinated review, because this Larkin Drive extension is a big thing. It's the county's project, but it's going to impact all of us. There's a bald hill right off of Old Country Road. That is an enormous project. Now, if I understand correctly, they'd asked that they get a 1-year extension. But that is a major project. Now, that's a residential project. But most of the other projects there are going to be non-commercial based, which means that most of that commercial, those ratables that we had anticipated, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, the town of Monroe has about 15% commercial ratables, 85% residential. All that ratables is going to be used for something other than some type of commercial enterprise or residential one which is exempt from taxes. It's a legitimate use. It's something which there's nothing that we can do about it, but there's no coordinated review between the town of Monroe and the county.
How do you make that happen?
Well, we've sent the letters to them. The board has.
They're being all cut down.
But we agree. We agree. And when we saw the problem that occurred at the planning board a couple of months back, because of the lack of notice that the planning board had, planning board in Orange County had, by not notifying us, we got on it. And Dennis, George, all of you, we have the letters to be able to support the idea of having a coordinated review. Gentlemen, am I correct on this?
Yes.
All right? So we need that, because we can't do it alone. We need the county. Same thing. If we did not have, and I'll use this, and I'm not looking to get into a debate with anybody, if there were different seeker laws, we wouldn't be in this profound problem that we have. There's whether or not the town deserves to be in this position, this is something which the state of New York put us in. But as far as this area is concerned, we have control of this, but we need the efforts of Orange County to be able to coordinate a review so that we know what the hell are they planning to do, because they've said they've been silent on this for years. Silent to the point where we were making planning board approvals on property that was intended for this Larkin Drive to extension to go right through. Gentlemen, am I incorrect on any of what I'm saying? Anything that I'm saying? No.
You're right.
Okay.
So the planning board, like, that one part that's supposed to be, that was the extension of Larkin, that was actually a cul-de-sac of summer homes, stone homes. They were all bought up individually over the last 20 years. And then it became Larkin Drive, which you're saying is a county project?
Absolutely.
Because they were all bought up individually.
Absolutely.
Until they were all acquired, and then they were all bulldozed down, and then I believe the bathhouse went up.
The mikvah, that is correct.
So it's the planning board that needs to be addressed?
In the case of the mikvah, bear with me, in the case of the mikvah was zoning board. And I can tell you, and tell the public, this was incremental. There is, again, we have planning boards, they meet twice a month? Planning boards that meet twice a month. We have people.
So the zoning gets changed?
No, the zoning doesn't get changed, but the use gets changed. So an example for that, the mikvah. That mikvah was a little stone building. That little stone building had a request, and correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, gentlemen, they came legitimately asking for a small change. That small change was granted. Another change occurred, was granted. Another one was granted. Before you know it, you've got a building. Now, is it done illegally? It could have been granted, but is it done incrementally to the point that it's hard to recognize what the original intent of the property was when it was presented to the zoning board? Perhaps you can make an argument for that. And now, what are the local area residents looking at?
So now
That plus,
be aware of that.
right, that plus the idea of Larkin Drive extension coming through, changing the way that traffic is handled, and the Orange County Planning Board never mentioned anything to us. DPW, they have never mentioned anything to us. It was only because of an event that took place at the planning board level did we wind up contacting the Orange County Planning Board, what's going on here? So starting jump-starting that type of, hello, we're here, can you help us, is what hopefully will work into some kind of an intermunicipal agreement, and perhaps to what Councilman McWaters is saying, some way of reconfiguring the use of that so the impact is as minimal as possible. So we're aware of it. The board is aware of it, and it's something which we don't want your mother to have any more burdens, because she's already had enough, and she's a lovely lady.
Our house is the last stand.
Yeah, your mom's
on that road. It hasn't sold.
And you know and I know that people there, they have sold, and they're entitled to sell. Your people are entitled to buy, they're entitled to sell, that's how it is. You know,
No,
there's,
but I have no problem with someone living next to me. I have a problem that there's gonna be an apartment building behind my mother. That's
There-
my issue.
there won't be, in our case, an apartment building on our end, because
Well, maybe that's not
the
the right
town
term.
board
What's
would
the
have
proper
to,
term?
the town board,
Multi-level,
but will there
many-family.
be a use, a multi-residential use, or a non-commercial use, a use which applies under accordance with our LUPA and the religious land use practices? The answer is you're looking at a pretty solid pieces of evidence which would point in that direction, because you're looking at buildings that exist there right now that are providing for the future of what's going to occur. But if it does occur and the town doesn't have the capacity to be able to change that, then we have to make sure that the use of the land is done in such a way that it impacts as minimally as possible. So again, going back to Dennis's position, what do we do to be able to reconfigure the road so it has the most minimal impact? What do we do to try to make sure that everyone is being held to the highest standard possible, either through a tree code or through other mechanisms which are going to be able to ensure that what we can preserve in a healthy way, we can do.
It'd be nice to have it stay the way that it looks. It's a beautiful area.
It is, but we don't own the land, and those who do own the land are entitled to use it according to what the federal and state laws are. We're bound by that. However, Orange County, come tell us, what are your plans? You have more resources than we have. Underneath, there's water. Where is that water going to? Who's sharing that water? So that we don't wind up, and Mr. Rizzo, this is really nothing with you, so that we don't have some kind of overuse or contamination. I'm not a geohydrologist, none of us are. But there's only so much water in those aquifers. And if you have all this buildup, and not residential or commercial buildup, but all this other types of buildup, you still have a tremendous strain on the environment, both on top of the land and underneath the land.
Long story
So what do
short,
we do?
It gets very complicated.
So-
To get into every nuance,
You opened up.
supervisor, to get into every nuance, it's very complicated. And the problem, long story short, is that we have to get together and more communication with the county instead of the county just doing what they want and us finding out at the last minute. So it's just to be found.
I'll make one quick comment on that. One is, first of all, what we can do for you, if your mom and other people on that road, Avenue, is, I mean, in 2 weeks, if nothing changes, I'm gonna vote, myself anyway, I'm gonna vote to spend the money to clean up these roads. That's my opinion. Unless something changes where it's a better option. To get them. That being said, you know, there's another issue that, you know, is very politically out there and people are upset. One time or another, all the residents of Monroe and Curious Joel and everyone involved in the county had a meeting the other night about the annexation. Somehow, it's going to have to come to a mature, adult, non-political decision on what's the best way to handle what is definitely coming down the road of more population growth in KJ, the village of KJ coming out over the borders. Now, do we want to do a compromise position of the annexation 164 acres? Will it eventually go to, would it be a 507 or whatever it is? Or would it be where the people of Curious Joel, another option they've talked about, is to start coming across the Quickway and buying homes in the village of Monroe and in other areas in the town of Monroe and moving in this direction and over in Blooming Grove.
They already have.
They have, but what's going to happen is because of the amount of population of young people there, and they can't afford some of these new developed homes in KJ that are actually kind of expensive. Or a lot of them have told me when we were seeing them over in KJ, they actually want to come out and get cheaper homes in Monroe, which is cheaper than some of the homes that are being built in KJ. So we're going to have to actually come to a real...
I'm not interested in isolating people.
I'm not talking about that, but when they come up, listen, when they come into certain areas, then they're going to want to build bigger homes. They're going to want to take advantage of whatever zoning or ZBA or planning board approvals they can get legally to increase the size of homes in these areas. So we have to really think about this logically and not get all caught up in hyperbole. And that's going to be the future of Monroe.
I'm concerned about my mother having to sell her house because she can't afford to pay the increased taxes because we're dealing with the burden of people who don't work for a living. And we're paying their taxes and their SNAP program. and they're having their cocaine back, and I can't, my mother stayed home and raised me. We were raised on one income. There's only so much coming in. My house has been in our family for 5 generations. That's since 1890. Why should my mother have to leave? That's what I'm saying.
And we do, and regarding the taxes.
There should not be high-density housing behind this woman's house.
There should be.
No, it increases the garbage, it increases the traffic, and it's, I mean, I understand it's slightly off topic, but it's all related. And I do appreciate you paying attention to that issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
One issue that you did raise, Colleen, and the supervisor mentioned it as well. We don't have to rely on the county to solve some of the problems that are going on over there. There is one key issue you mentioned, clearing the trees. We've got a proposal in front of us to adopt a new tree code. We were not allowed to have any public input to that at the last session, information session that we held. I would like to propose that we have another session on that tree code, and it will be only open to the public to make comment, and people who have pertinent comments to that proposed legislation. I understand there's another document out there. I think it's also about 108 pages. We will wait forever till that becomes law. Colleen, they can knock down all the trees across the street from your mom before we get a code in place. We need to get that code this year.
Right away.
If it's the last thing I do, we will have a tree code.
If it's the last thing I do, I agree with Dennis, we need it this year, but we have to have one that'll stand up to legal challenges, otherwise you can just watch the tree go away. That's the fact. I'm not a planner, that's advice by a planner and a lawyer.
So you're both in agreement that a tree code.
We need one this year, you're right, yes.
Again,
I wish we had it 3 years ago.
Sharpen your pencils.
So, gentlemen, and if you're, I was the one who had brought it up because it was something, again, it's not designed as a punitive measure. It's designed as a way of being able to slow down the pace of what's going on, and at the same time, preserve the integrity of the land that we have. So regarding that corridor between Target all the way to 208, how do we take that vast expanse, which is going to be relegated to non-commercial, no tax providing basis, how do we wind up doing something with it? And this tree code appears to be not only designed ideally for that area, but for the rest of the town as well. So let's move it forward, yes.
If you put forward a tree code and you say publicly that it's to stop development, you're going to have a big trouble legally with the tree code.
It's not about development.
Will you listen? It's got to be for environmental reasons, and that's why you have to have it done just right by people who know what they're doing, or it won't stand up. That's all I'm saying to you.
In other words, once you say it's to stop development.
You might as well just throw the tree code away.
Doesn't say that.
I know it doesn't, but did you hear what the supervisor just said?
It's
Let's not belabor the point. It's just got to be done correctly, and I want it done this year too.
We just don't want to put that verbiage in officially on our meeting.
Right.
That's what it is.
Thank you.
Next point.
Okay.
Gentlemen, also,
Please.
something simple.
Simple.
Highway has a major input in this, because no road in the town of Monroe can be constructed, even under the county ruling, without Highway's approval, as well as the town board. Infrastructure problems, they have a lot of marshland there that you can't put a road on, unless it's developed correctly. So all of this has to be reviewed. Highway hasn't get called in yet, but from what I hear, it's going to be very soon. And any information I have, I will pass it on to the public as well as the town board.
Next, we have a resolution to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion. To pay the bill.
second?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
All questions?
Aye.
We have the comptroller, Dr. Martin. I'll do it.
It's here.
I have it.
No, take this one. The slight change.
Yeah. This is a request from the comptroller to approve $360,000.
There's a loan, right?
Well, this is a request for approval to lend $360,000 from the A fund to the DA fund to eliminate the DA cash deficit of $348,007.55 due to the unauthorized overspending of the highway superintendent. The additional $11,992.45 will act as a cushion for other anticipated unauthorized expenses, including $3,833.77 for sand to be used for snow plowing and $4,376.75 due to the Monroe Woodbury School District for fuel. I need a motion for that?
I'll make the motion for the loan of $360,000 from the A fund to the DA fund to eliminate the DA cash deficit of $348,000, $384,007.55.
Need a second? Second. Discussion?
Yes, definitely. I don't want to spend.
You're not authorized for that, sir.
I don't want to spend 55 cents on it.
Okay.
Call the question?
Well, can we discuss
Okay,
it?
no, that's what I asked.
We discussed it on the last meeting.
Right.
Ouch.
As far as the additional $11,000, I'll cover what looks to be about $8,000, not a little over $8,000 that has already been spent, or
Yes.
and then there'll be a cushion of about $3,800, $3,700 extra
In case there's anything.
in case there's something else. Okay, so this is a loan that has to be paid back when?
This loan is supposed to be paid back by New York State law at the end of the year.
We won't
Okay,
pay.
is that,
We won't pay.
that's from,
We
there might be some income coming in from some of the mortgage taxes?
That is correct. The mortgage tax has not been received and accounted for yet. We should have a check coming for mortgage tax sometime in April, and we'll have another one that comes sometime around October. And so there will be some money that goes to the DA fund cash as a result of those two pieces of revenue. And once that money is appropriate, once that money is received, it certainly would be available to pay back the loan. On the other hand, as I pointed out last week, there's still a potential, there's still a minimum of $130,000 to spend in the DA fund before the end of this year, just paying payroll and fuel.
So that would be additional loans that would have to happen?
Well, hopefully the mortgage tax will come in better than the conservative estimate, but right now we're looking at the estimate for the mortgage tax is $250,000. So if it came at $250,000, if the spending was limited to $150,000, there could be $100,000 available to pay back to the A fund by the end of December.
Some of the loan.
To pay off some of the loan, but to me it's doubtful that the entire loan amount would be able to be paid back.
But does it mean that that money then can't be spent for other purposes?
What money?
Well, the money that comes in from the mortgage tax. We're going to spend it, we're going to
Well, some of it,
repay the loan.
you're going to have to spend some of it to pay for the salaries. This money that you're going to transfer brings the cash in the DA to about plus $8,000 by the time these other two invoices are paid. So,
Sir, if you call out again, you will be directed to leave. Okay? It's going to be one notice and one only.
Mr. Martin, I have a question for you. What is this money for?
this money is to pay back the fact that the DA fund is overspent.
By what?
But it says
For
right
what?
here.
For what?
Biggest part of it is overtime and sand, assault.
Okay, and that's for?
We went over this last week.
You're not
sir.
answering my question. What is this salt
You tell
for
me.
and snow plow?
It's your budget.
You tell me.
It's your budget. You tell me.
I'm asking you.
I don't know. It's your budget.
Why was this money, you said, overspent? For what reason?
Because spending without a purchase order is an unauthorized expense. And every piece of salt that you purchased this year was done without a purchase order. And when we alerted you, I did multiple times tell you that your budget was going over. I told you that we needed to come in and talk about it, and you refused to do that.
Mr. Martin.
It's the town board that can make amendments to additions to your budget. It is your responsibility to handle what is within your budget, and you have not done a very good job of that right now, Tony, because you're this much in the hole.
No, you were informed on 220 the salt bins were getting low. You were informed, and you micromanaged highway, came down and looked at the salt bins.
I sure did.
Okay, and what did you do?
No, you know, we're not gonna debate this.
No. I am entitled to speak, okay? As an elected official, I'm entitled to speak. I want to know where my tax dollars are going.
So right now, what we're going to do, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
No, we're not going to take a 5-minute recess.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess, and I'm gonna go pull out the emails. Where the unauthorized
You can pull it out whatever you want. I'd like to know right now,
by Mr. Rizzo,
the town board spent $34,000 to buy 500 pounds of salt without a PO. Without a PO.
George,
They took it upon themselves, superseded the Highways Authority. No,
Peter, we need
superseded the Highways Authority, purchased 500 tons of salt on their own.
Because they were nervous. They were nervous that public safety would be compromised. And that's why they bought the 500 tons. As well as doing covert operations without Highways Authority. They spent $43,000 on the job the highway could done for $15,000. Without the Highways authorization, okay, and called it an emergency. You did.
You want to go there?
You did.
Peter, call it for a 5-minute break. Take a 5-minute break.
He's gonna find the emails.
There's no emails. They were sent to you. We have a public safety issue.
Just find the issue.
Mr. McQuaid, you came in my shop. You said we overspent it overtime, and I says, then I won't hold any men here. And you said it's public safety, keep them here.
I'll talk to you in the microphone, but that's not exactly what I said.
Yes, you did.
No, it isn't.
There's a snowstorm here, and Mr. McQuaid, and Mr. Doles was there laughing his ass off. Yeah.
Laughing his ass off?
Yes, he was, sir.
Laughing his ass off?
Yes, sir.
That's it.
And I apologize for that comment.
I got it.
I apologize for saying that comment. It's your department, public safety, you take care of it. And I asked, what about overtime?
The email, the salt.
Not a word.
Cargill.
There was a meeting in my office with Mr. Doles, Representative KJ, Mr. Martin, myself, and my administrator. Mr. Rizzo, whatever you need for public safety and to keep the roads safe.
You're on a timeout.
Okay? Keep the roads safe. There is funding available. We will make sure. Mr. Dole said that.
Why was that meeting called if it was up?
Why?
Well, wait,
Why?
I don't want a one-sided presentation.
It's not one-sided. Why? Because last year, according to the budget, we spent $317,000 and we had lines.
I'm not going to sit here and listen to this. I'm not going to. If 5 minutes is up, I'll come back and we can all
All my budget lines were cut to support any additional spending. Okay? All my budget lines were cut. I couldn't spend anymore. That's why the town board is putting the highway to deficit.
town
We
board
had a
didn't
bad
put you in a
winter.
deficit.
We had
No,
a bad
public
winter.
safety did. In 2001, the salt budget was 175,000.
What was the winter like? Did you
Okay,
have a bad
we're
winter
now
this year?
2015. The salt budget is 200,000.
But I definitely.
Multiple roads were done. More traffic admitted by the board. More personnel using it. More safety hazards.
More snow, more ice.
for
Excuse me.
so we didn't all
My
die.
salt, my sand budget
All right, Mr. Superintendent, I think you've had enough.
in 2000 and, no,
I would like to make a point. What we're trying to do here is not argue whether or not
I'm
this
not.
is the worst. That's enough. Whether this is the worst winter on record or not. This is about fixing budget lines. That is our responsibility, and we need to review it with the superintendent. I don't want to hear about how the budget was cut. I don't want to hear about the amount of money that was put aside in years before. That is irrelevant. We have to deal with today. And that's what this is about. Any other conversation tonight is superfluous, meaningless, and grandstanding.
I'm not grandstanding, I'm stating the fact.
Can we move this meeting along?
One more thing, in 2001, my road salt sand budget was $16,000. It is now $800.
Gentlemen, I had asked for 5 minutes. Obviously,
Didn't happen.
didn't happen. Your failure to respect the board's wishes for a 5-minute recess
Respect?
is noticed.
Mr. Dole,
We are looking
you
for
have
the
to learn
emails.
that word.
We are looking for the
For
emails.
public safety,
We are looking for the
for
emails.
your safety,
For
and
your
travel the same
unauthorized,
road.
please. We're looking for
Please?
your unauthorized request in January from Cargill. And as well as a recording where you said you had authorization to purchase items. It was recorded. The entire town board heard it, that you were authorized to make purchases when you were in fact not.
By yourself, you gave me
Excuse me.
authorization.
Well, we are going to discuss
In
this.
my office,
We are going to put the
when Peter
emails
was right
together,
there.
and they're going to be posted on the website, so that everyone can see the history of Tony Rizzo and the way he functions as the highway superintendent in the last 12 months. Virtually every single email that I have is going to be posted from the last 12 months. So, this is where you want to go, this is what you're going to get. Now, we have a motion on the board, there's $400,000, and now we understand that you're asking for another $500,000.
$500,000?
Peter, correct?
Well, we still have,
$500,000.
You're asking for money you're asking for more money now.
I'm not asking for anything.
Peter, the
Oh,
budget.
you have road money. That's another discussion.
Okay.
That's another discussion.
So, we're gonna put this aside. We had asked, this was a simple request. It's turning into what you consider, and I agree, your grandstanding efforts.
No.
We are asking, we're going, we are going to, no, that's what the,
You gave me authorization to
that's
do what
what
I
you
need
did,
for road safety.
authorization. You are,
Mr. Martin,
You did
you
not
are,
have
you're sitting there
authorization.
saying,
Mr. Martin,
authorization,
I'm gonna ask you
authorization,
one
why
more
don't you
time.
come
You
clean and
present
tell
that
them
meeting.
that you authorized the purchase of what, Peter, 4,000 or 7,000 tons of salt, 7,000 tons of salt, unauthorized. You had no right whatsoever to do it. You used that money. You were going to have that salt delivered until you got
You
caught.
last year
And I'm
told me the
accusing
same
you
thing.
of lying to this board. I'm accusing you
You gave
of
me the
deceiving
same
the public.
authorization
I am
last
accusing you
year.
for grandstanding for political
I'm
reasons.
not
And that's what you're doing, Mr. Rizzo. Shame on you.
You gave me the same
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to
authorization.
stand adjourned. Excuse me, we're going to clear the premises for 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
You gave me that authorization last year, and you were
We're
happy
gonna go in the back.
that I did it. Folks, I did what I could. Thank you. Board members, you have a lot to learn about
No, we don't.
the truth.
No, you do.
No.
You're a habitual liar.
You should talk. Why don't you just walk to the board?
Right there.
Why? Because I asked the board to fix this all out. I asked the board.
You are so grossly incompetent, it's
Okay.
disgusting.
Mr. Dole, your road in front in your house has never been better, and you admitted that.
Gentlemen, can we get this meeting going smooth?
You said go on the back, right? So you going on the back?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the, you guys go, I'm just.
I work for all of you, including the board. I apologize for any mishap. I apologize for my language. I wish everybody well. This is your board.
Apologize for the.
Yeah.
We got the pictures, we got the rather, we got it. It's gonna be showtime. In your front yard? We approved the gravel in your front yard. Show me, we approved you dumping gravel in your town gravel in your front yard.
That's right, during sweet weeks.
Oh yeah, show me an email on that one. Good luck. Good
And
luck.
also Tommy Trees received.
Oh, Tommy Trees, yeah, we're gonna get to Tommy Trees when he comes in. We're gonna get all this, oh yeah. Dumping sound trees on your land, on your house. Oh yeah, Yep. Tell us everybody else. Tell everybody else.
Tell them everything else, so I helped you do your electric bill when you're crawling on the ground, buying 2 cars from you. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? You were there in that meeting, you approved it.
You approved it. Yeah, approved what?
The meeting's still on?
Yeah.
They have the authority.
You gave me the authority, like last year.
Oh, give me a break. You are so full of nonsense.
Okay? Just like you approved last year. No, real number. Just like last year, Mr. Torres. You didn't say one word when it rose.
Your men despise you. Your men despise you. Do you want me to just show the recording? Watch this.
And despise me?
Yeah.
Oh my
Great.
Your own men despise you. See if I can get the email. Yeah, we want to hear your email.
Mr. Dole.
And then they cry.
People say what they wish.
Say what they wish, because they know what they have to say to be able to make sure that they get home safe because of you.
Oh my God.
That's why they stay over. When they even have approval and you chastise me for spending money overtime to keep them safe. Yeah, I like to hear that recording. Authorized recording.
Dennis? Dennis, whenever you're ready.
Waiting on me?
You're next. There's no pattern.
I mean, another one that we can start tracing things from.
All right, let's move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to return to public session. Mr. Martin, Can you tell the board, how you informed the vendors, including Cargill, which is the main salt supplier to the town of Monroe, how you notified them, what manner and when, regarding the purchase order system? Do you recall?
Yes. Well, it started a year ago. Once the board gave their approval, once you gave the approval that we're going to move forward with having a purchase order system, I wrote a letter to, and sent a letter to all the vendors in the town of Monroe, informing them that the town now had a purchase order system and that any order placed by any individual from the town was supposed to have a PO number. To a fairly good degree, I mean, this was a new thing for the employees to become accustomed to, and generally we've had pretty good response to that. But there are one or two departments, basically highway, where we seem to have problems implementing the process. I think there's a lack of understanding about why we have this process. And it's because you're not supposed to spend money that you don't have. So if you ask for a purchase order number before you place the order, and the money is available, it's not a problem. It's in your budget. It's been approved. It's been adopted by the town board. You get the purchase order and you go buy your supplies, attend school, whatever it is that you're asking the money for, and you get it done. If it gets to the point where there isn't money available, that's when I bring it to your attention. If it's, first I talk to the department head, and it's like, you know, you might need to make an adjustment within your budget, which they'll do, and they'll offer, then they'll say, okay, fine, go ahead and do that for me, please. Some don't do that. So this year, near the end of January, I realized that we were flooded with orders, invoices from Cargill, a lot of money, and we were very close to overspending the $200,000 amount that was set in the budget. And I tried to get Highway to talk about it and do something about it, and my efforts were not successful. And about the mid-February, Harley, you and I called Cargill.
I'm going to interrupt you on this point. This is because I'm looking at the February 9th letter, and fortunately I have emails from all the town board members regarding this, I believe all of them, because we were all quite annoyed that on February 9th an email was sent at 11:44 to Mike Donnelly, to the editor for the Photo News, as well as the highway superintendent and the town board members, that Peter and I that morning had called Cargill. We had gotten, I'll use the term, wind of these purchases. We have the account number. We spoke with the young lady. Her name is Elaine. We found out that somehow there was an unauthorized purchase of 560, that he had ordered, I have the information here, that he had ordered, Mr. Rizzo had ordered 500, at $68 a ton, he had ordered, or an unauthorized purchase of 1,000 tons, which were shipped partially. Then on January 28th, he ordered 500 tons. Now, you were not informed of these purchases, am I correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. On February 5th, now we're remembering, this is a couple of days later, you were not aware of the purchases prior, even though that purchase orders requirements were sent out. On February 5th, Mr. Rizzo ordered 4,000 tons of salt, unbeknownst to you. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
The total for that was $374,000, according to Cargill Elaine. Now, plus whatever else there is in Rizzo's emergency request. Peter and I spoke with Cargill. I'm reading my notes here. They are not to process any orders until 1, they receive a purchase order from the town of Monroe, and and an additional notice to the vendors, which was sent out last year. And then 2, the town board and the town attorney this evening, and that would be on the 9th, instructs the controller and the supervisor how to pursue future salt purchases. That evening, I believe that the town authorized us to make sure that we were enforcing the purchase order requirements. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, as we start looking at the email trail of what's occurred, we can at least start a baseline of $374,000 of unauthorized purchases that your office was made aware of or my office was made aware of by you on February 9th. You had, I guess, some prior inkling what was going on.
Right.
Okay. So that's where we stand. Now, these hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of salt, now I know that you have done a comparison. We're not looking to compare. We still have a motion on the floor for a loan.
Loan from A to DA.
Before we do any of this, and I would think that it would be wise and prudent for the town board and for the public and for the media to have all of these emails so that everyone can see exactly the history of what's gone on, the history of Mr. Rizzo's response, the histories of the vendors, and the histories of all the town board members, to see exactly what we've done, so that we can get some clarity. And maybe if we need to, somebody else to bring some clarity as to what's going on here. Because I'm looking at a $374,000 purchase, which was wholly and completely unauthorized, according to what you told all of us. And I spoke with Elaine from Cargill, and she agreed. So until we reach a point where we have the emails together and all the facts put together, can we make a motion?
Question?
You gotta call the question.
Call the question on approving to lend $360,000 from the A fund to the DA fund to eliminate the DA cash deficit of $348,000, $7.55 due to the unauthorized overspending of the highway superintendent. The additional $11,992.45 will act as a cushion for other anticipated unauthorized expenses, including $3,833.77 for sand to be used for snow plowing and $4,376.75 due to the Monroe Woodbury School District for fuel. We need a motion.
I made the motion.
We've had discussion. Any further discussion?
I have one problem with this now. If this is going to be, and I talked to Peter Martin in the back there, I'd say this one. I feel that when Peter made transfers in the past to pay Cargill.
No transfers.
What? What was it when we paid the vendor Cargill? 200 and how many thousand was that, Peter? The payment for all the extra salt or whatever you want to call it.
At the end of the day, Cargill was paid on the order of $476,000.
Right, but there was a payment of $230,000, $260,000, which was made because of purchases that I don't even think you were even aware of. Now, I have no issue with departments having some problems. The problem is when it becomes an issue where they don't even recognize or acknowledge the problem. I felt in my terms, we were bailing out a department, and a department head, elected official, and I thought it would just keep getting worse, because if you bail them out of a situation that they fail to recognize, in my opinion, it's going to keep happening. Now, if we do this transfer, a loan, I should say, what's to stop this from becoming worse over the next 8 months, 7 months, 8 months, and then we're going to have to do another loan? I just worry about, my opinion is maybe we shouldn't do this and let the negative cash deficit stay there as a reminder to Mr. Rizzo that he could look at to let him know where he stands. That's you know how I feel about it, because this could get worse. Right, that's what I'm worried about. And everyone in the public was laughing about it. But we're all paying for it, and that's why we have a job to do, and we're trying to do it, if you'll give us a minute.
We are all paying for it, you're right.
And we have the spring and summer to get through the additional train wreck.
And next winter, and November and December. But
that's why I have an issue with my own motion.
Okay, but what I need to tell you, what I need to remind you is that the banker's not happy to see minus $348,000 in a checkbook.
I understand that.
So this checkbook resolution is something that we can't really ignore. We have to correct it.
But I don't
We
see,
have to.
I don't see the money all getting paid back at the end of the year.
Well, that's another story. And I'll take you back to 2008 when this happened, and the DA fund owed the A fund. It was $216,000 in 2008 that never got paid off, actually until till last year, at the end of last year.
Now, Peter, where did this money
So,
come from?
What money?
The 216,000.
Tony, you don't understand where the money comes from.
I'm asking you, where does it come
How
from?
many times do I have to?
We're not here to debate, we're here to make a motion.
So
Peter, you're done, tell us you're done.
Everybody has time to speak.
Harley, I encourage the board that we should move this forward. It's a loan. The loan, it becomes a liability. The loan does not remove the fact that the DA fund is overspent. It absolutely does not.
For public safety.
In the accounting system, it's there.
Okay.
It doesn't remove it.
Doesn't go.
Okay. It's to balance the checkbook.
Okay.
Yeah, Peter, let me ask you a question before we vote on it. Our attorney advised us and advised the highway superintendent that in some areas, if he overspent his budget, he would be personally responsible for those funds. Does this loan change that situation?
I don't think it does.
All right, we'll wait till our attorney's present, and we'll ask our attorney. It's a legal question, so let's get it
It's
from
really a
him.
legal question.
Yeah, okay. But this won't change that.
The loan is outstanding, and the
Yeah.
overspending exists, and there's still more overspending that's coming down the road. But I really like to get this checkbook balanced. And I'm not going to move that money without the board's approval. Because this is money that is outside of the highway superintendent's budget. There is no way he could fix this deficit within the DA fund itself. He can't do it.
No,
So
you're right,
the board, you don't have any money.
No,
So
of course.
the board has
You
to.
cut all my budget lines.
That's not the reason. And you got more money this year than you did last. So don't go down that road.
Should I elaborate on this?
No.
No,
We want to hear this.
thank you.
Can we vote on this, please?
And Mr. Burke, as far as attorneys, you're 100% right. We should evaluate with attorneys. And one more comment I have.
Okay,
One more comment. Highway was a theater. Would you fund it?
Oh,
man, that's good. Now you're playing the fool. You are playing the fool.
My job is public safety.
Are you ready to call the question on
You
that?
gotta watch the budget.
You could have done public safety for half the price.
Call, Daniel.
Then why wouldn't you
Daniel,
wait to do that?
Daniel, you call the question?
Tell us how.
Daniel,
I'll do an aye on the loan.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Now I have another question for Mr. Rizzo.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Peter,
sir.
you have another
And
question?
this is
Peter,
about
you have another question in all fairness?
He has,
snow. This is snow plowing overtime.
Okay.
I've been informed that you are refusing to sign the budget amendments that Bob Piccinotti prepared for you to pay for the overtime in the DB Mechanics Fund, the 1.5 overtime and the 2.0 overtime, that totals $16,364.86. This is in the DB fund. Now, have you refused to sign for the budget appropriations to move funds around to cover those negatives?
My comment was, as of last year, or as per last year, how was overtime covered?
Have you refused?
Answer my question,
Have you
please.
refused to fix your budget?
I'm not answering my question. How was overtime covered
He's not
last
going to answer
year?
your question.
So we have negative lines now in the DB fund due to the overspending of the overtime.
Okay?
And it's within the highway budget. I'm not gonna go and make.
You're the comptroller.
I'm not gonna make changes to your budget.
You're
I
the
never
comptroller.
have. No, I won't.
You've made changes
They're
in
up to you. I have
2008.
not, they're up to you.
Okay?
Either you own up to your
Okay.
budget or
And you
not.
own up to yours. 2008, you raided the highway budget to pay off a deficit.
No, we didn't.
See, that's what you told me.
No,
Yes,
the
you did.
highway owed the money. Don't you
That's
understand?
way before me.
Well,
So am I
you
getting
inherited it.
chastised personally
You're
by
not
Mr.
getting chastised.
Burke? Yes, he wants a second
No,
attorney.
actually, what we want to see an Excel spreadsheet that you use. We know your post-it note system. We want to see the paperwork that you use to document how you run your organization. That's what we want. That's the least that this town board has requested for well over a year. Show us the way that you handle your accounting. Don't ask Mr.
That's why we have
Do
a
not ask
comptroller.
the comptroller. You're the
That's
one,
why we have a
the invoices
comptroller.
come in, you're supposed to be handling that spreadsheet,
Peter.
and you have no idea how to use a
Has
spreadsheet.
anything else been overspent besides overtime for snow plowing and salt?
Where?
In the highway department?
Well, when?
This year, last year?
Oh, last year you had 2 pages of negatives for a while until I sat down with Bob and got you to
Okay.
sign off on amendments to
Okay.
correct those.
And the highway department was able to pay that, correct?
Within your budget, last
Within
year,
my
I told
budget.
you, last year, you, at the end of the year in DA, closed out the year within your budget.
And-
That's all I care about. At the end of the year,
Absolutely, I care about it.
your budget is, you didn't overspend what was budgeted.
Because there was money in my budget lines. correct?
No, because the budget.
Because there was money in my budget line.
Well, a budget is a budget, cash is something different,
Okay.
but
We spent the total of,
Peter,
You had a budget this
we had
year.
317,000 salt spending last year.
So?
And we had the money in my budget to cover it.
Peter,
This year, the lines were cut, I didn't have the money.
no, you overspent.
Peter, I'm going to discuss this. I'm going to, no, you. On first day of April, you had, and this was sent out to virtually everyone, just for the record, this is from you, Peter. The town decided to follow the New York State Highway Law and requested a 284 agreement for 2015, based on the highway superintendent's performance in 2014. I encourage the town board to pursue the 284 agreement for 2015 expenditures. The town does not have a signed agreement for 2015, although I've asked repeatedly, and I therefore inform the highway superintendent that no funds are available for the permanent road improvements until an agreement is signed. Is that correct, Peter?
That is correct.
Okay. For 2015, the overall tax revenue for the highway was decreased because we added $424,000 in fund balance. Correct? The $500,000, however, salt budget that was requested at budget time represented $300,000 increase over 2014. If the board approved this increase, the tax cap would have been exceeded. The most important issue involving salt is that the highway superintendent committed to purchasing 7,000 tons, almost $500,000 of salt in August without any town board approval. This was not even discussed at the budget time. Fortunately, all 5 members of the board was here listening to Mr. Rizzo. It was not discussed at budget time, and the highway superintendent only attended the first meeting for the highway budget. The highway superintendent's response about road repairs is a fabrication. First of all, the addition of permanent road improvements in 2014 did not leave zero for road repairs. It was in excess of $50,000 for general repairs, which, by the way, had a balance of over $18,000 in 2014. Therefore, the highway superintendent was incapable of scheduling the repairs that he indicates were required. For 2015, not only did the town board commit to the budget of $541,000 for permanent road repair improvements, plus for the $50,000 for the KJ paving, but also included $258,000 for other road and culvert repairs. Obviously, the amount is not very little for 2015 as represented by the highway superintendent. The highway superintendent does not understand basic accounting. I have tried to explain what happens, and I will tell the board, and I will reveal these emails by the end of the week, every single email where we have begged him to go to school. We have begged him to try to get some kind of an accounting process in place. That being said, all highway funds are segregated to highway. Funds are not carried over on line items. Most of the salvaged items that the highway superintendent refers to were allocated in the fund balance applied to the 2015 budget. The salt surpluses that the highway superintendent refers to were used to pay back the $238,000 that the DA fund owed to the 8 months since 2008. And the Reed settlement took an additional $60,000 out of the DA fund balance. If you ever hear the story about why we settled the $60,000, the people would be scratching it saying, I can't believe what took place that we wound up having to settle on that one. I hope that these answers help you better understand the current situation, and that's from the comptroller. So this has been going on for quite a while. It's been going on for not just a month or 2 months or 5 months. It's been going on since, at least, since you tried to install a purchase order system that all of the other departments have had to comply with. All the other departments are held accountable to their budgets for, and all of the other departments have some kind of basic accounting system in place so that you can coordinate whatever needs to be, so that at the end of the month you can reconcile the issues in the accounts.
And every department
Absolutely.
Every department
But you don't. Because you can't, you don't have a basic accounting
Now, Mr.
system
Dole,
set up.
you had your say.
Do you have a basic accounting system set up in your computer? The answer is
Yes,
no.
How do you do transfer funds? How do we work with Peter?
Peter.
Let me reiterate, $60,000 for the Reed system, I denied, I didn't want, the town decided to settle it. It was before my time, didn't work, period. The $500 and so thousand, half of that comes out of my state CHIPS program to pay for roads. The reason why we have no money for roads, because Peter Martin raided my fund budget for CHIPS to do this year's road improvements.
Last year's.
No, this year's. You allocated money, the reimbursement, to go with this year's road repairs.
You wanted.
If you look.
Wait a minute.
Yes,
Wait
sir.
a minute. You wanted to have more roads worked on.
Of course. We're falling apart.
Which is not a bad thing for the town. And I showed you,
We worked together.
Wait a minute.
We worked together
Just a
and
minute.
figured it out.
You did almost $500,000 worth of road repairs in 2014, and I showed you a way to do almost that, to do actually more than that in 2015.
And how much
So
did...
what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Beautiful. How much did
So why are you complaining?
I'm not. How much did the town contribute to that?
What do you mean, how much?
How much from that, besides the 200?
274 from CHIPS is a reimbursement. It's
Absolutely.
not a rating the CHIPS system.
Okay.
That's what it's
And
there
the town,
for.
and the town is supporting the balance. Am I correct or no?
Some from fund balance and some
That
out
would be-
of the tax
That would
rate.
be the general fund.
Not the general fund. There is no general fund. You have a highway fund DD, you have a highway fund DA.
And my
You do
contingency
not
fund-
have a general fund.
Okay, I'm not speaking of mine.
Well, you
Speaking of
said,
the town.
and the general fund. The general fund
General
didn't
fund.
support any of that. It doesn't come into play in this.
Almost 3
Okay,
years, there's no-
last year when we had residents come up for High Ridge and a number of other roads stating they're falling apart and it had to be done. Highway didn't have the money for it. They came
Yes,
out
you
of
did.
No,
No,
did not.
it did not come out of the general
Yes,
fund.
portion of it,
It
yes,
did not.
Yes, it
It did not.
You had told me
It
it did.
didn't. It didn't. I never told you that. I took your budget and showed you
He
how.
has the emails for this. Let him produce the emails. He has all the emails for this. He has the accounting on this. He has all this information. And at the next town board meeting,
I would like to...
we'll wind up showing, he can show you the emails, he can show you the accounting, he can show everybody the elaborate system that he has and how he's right and obviously you're wrong. Because that's what it's coming down to. Because either he's all right or you're all wrong. And I'm going to bet you that you're all right. And he is.
And also, how many times was the PO system changed in the past year and a half?
Zero.
It was changed 3 times.
Zero.
And do you have the emails for this?
Zero.
Another one of your pieces of
What
fiction that
changes
you're
are you talking
to present
about?
to everybody.
What changes?
Where is this email? Where are the three changes? Where are they? What are you gonna get?
There is no information.
You know, I was here, remember that when Dennis and I sat there with a couple and you did the same thing, the same performance, you're gonna get the information. We never saw the information, you didn't have it. What information? Where's your information? What's in that book? What's gonna help disprove what Mr. Martin is saying?
Disprove?
Prove what you're saying. What's in that book?
Put it this
What's
way.
in that book?
I prove-
Doodling?
I
What's in that
prove-
book?
That the accident rate in Monroe went down.
Show us
I
what's
proved
in your book,
that
Mr.
the roads were
There's
done
nothing in there,
correctly.
it's empty.
Okay?
It's empty spaces.
Yes, I know, Mr. Dole.
You cost this town hundreds of thousands of dollars.
As you did with the movie theater.
We're talking about you. This board purchased the movie theater. Mr. Rizzo did. Sorry, this board purchased the movie.
It's more important than keeping the road safe.
Nice try.
All right,
Nice grandstanding try.
It's not grandstanding.
All right,
You know what? Go prove to us how you did not purchase $375,000 worth of salt unauthorized. Did you or did you not purchase it? Did you or did you not purchase it?
If you look at the accounting was done.
Because you're afraid. You're
I am not.
terrified.
I gave you an accounting of it. It's on paper.
$374,000.
It's on paper.
Did you purchase, did you do
You had
it?
an independent
You were not
accountant.
authorized.
You had an
Mr.
independent
Rizzo, you're
accountant.
lying.
That's a.
You're lying, Mr. Rizzo. You're lying.
That's a fabrication.
Cargill said that you made those
Mr.
purchases. You were not authorized to do it. You knew you weren't authorized to do it.
Last year,
Why did you do it, Mr.
authorized the
Rizzo?
same thing
Mr.
verbally,
Rizzo,
and it was done.
$374,000.
Last year, you authorized the same thing.
Oh, please.
Gentlemen,
It's done. Please refer to the
It
road.
was safe.
You have none.
You even rode with me and said, I didn't realize the roads are so terrible. We do need new roads.
Gentlemen, I think we beat
Peter,
this.
just answer the last question we're gonna answer, then we can move on.
And I don't think we,
About helping? Well, I just,
Six money, all that chips and this.
in 2014.
I think this dog is dead.
Wait, no, this is not actually.
Sorry about that.
For this dead dog.
Councilman McQuaid asked me if I would clarify.
I
so
make a
if
motion
I
to
could.
stop the nonsense. You're putting a circus here.
No,
We
we're
have to
not.
stay here and listen to the
We're
circus.
talking about your money.
Circus, come on. Why should we be subject to this?
George, we're gonna take a 5 minute, we're gonna take a 5 minute, we're gonna take a 5 minute break. George, you're gonna be.
Gentlemen, please. I think that there's enough frustration out there on all sides. I don't think we're getting any further on this issue. I think the bantering back and forth is not accomplishing anything.
Actually, you never got to hear about the 2014.
I think we heard enough.
Not really.
I think we heard enough.
I just said one question.
We'll be here till midnight.
Then you can go home early.
It's not clarified.
I want to ask the one question about the chips. Just clarify that, I don't want to let that out in the air. Okay.
We're on a, are we on time?
He's a taxpayer. No, citizen, I'm going to stop his nonsense. He had a reason.
Okay.
He had a reason.
Apparently, I'm causing a problem here, so I will leave.
Oh,
I will.
You wanna leave your books? Leave your books.
Harley.
Yeah, let's see what's in there. No, we wanna see what's in there.
Harley, can you see my license?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that, Greg? Oh, nice. Oh, nice, Greg.
No dialogue.
Nice, Greg. Class act.
Now that we've gotten past
I want to just ask Peter to clarify the last point.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're back.
You know, this,
Just answer the question.
in 2014, you had, in Monroe, we had the problem with Acres Road that started in 2013. So I guess we should start there. In 2013, Acres Road was tarred and chipped, and the process didn't work very well. And by the July, August of 2013, we had, KJ was complaining that tar was bubbling up in the road, and that vehicles were starting to slip, and their buses were slipping. In fact, that's when we had the meeting at the highway department that the highway superintendent likes to talk about, And that meeting was held to try to assure the village of KJ that the roads were going to in fact be taken care of, because at that point the village of KJ had not paid anything on the $260,000 that they owed the town for the KJ contract. So we tried to put them at ease that things were going to be corrected. A suggestion was made that the road should be milled. It was done. The milling was to get rid of the tar that was on the upper surface. I milled it about 2 inches, and that got us through the winter. And in the spring, that piece of Acres Road had to be paved, and so that was taken care of. In the interim, KJ decided that they were pretty happy with the service that they were getting, and in fact paid in full. And in 2014, they're paid in full on the highway contract. Now, in the summer of 2014, and this is a recurring kind of theme here, the residents on Rye Hill Road, on High Ridge, were in here beating the town board up because their kids couldn't walk across the road without getting tar on their feet.
It was pretty bad.
And it was a real mess. And why was that? And it's a simple answer why it was. Because Rye Hill Road had been tarred and chipped, and it didn't work. High Ridge, I'm sorry, had been tarred and chipped, and it didn't work. So now it's like, well, we've got High Ridge to take care of. What do we do? And it became obvious that one of the things that's missing had been missing for years in the highway budget, was a line for what's called permanent road improvements. Permanent road improvements are the things like where you go in and reclaim the road, and then you put down a new base, and then you put down binder, and then you seal it with paving on top, and that's a whole process. And other communities don't just say asphalt, they actually say permanent road improvements. And then they have a budget line for asphalt, and for asphalt, that's for doing things like potholes and small repairs and things like that. So I showed the highway superintendent, without touching his budget, I said, okay, well, if you decide not to do any more tar and chipping, because that was a big piece of the budget, and if you take some money out of asphalt, and if you take some money out of a couple other lines, like some culvert line and a couple others, we managed to put together enough money in permanent road improvements that he was able to go forward and do the projects that he wanted to get done in 2014. So what's that? That's comptroller trying to help the highway superintendent to accomplish what he wants to do and provide residents with decent roads, and that's what we did. And so that's what happened in 2014. And there was no stealing of any money from him. There was no cutting anything. And anybody who doesn't believe it can just come and review it, because, among other things, it's all in the accounting system, because every transfer that was made from asphalt, from oil, and from sand, whatever, chips, every change that was made is recorded in the accounting system, and it's out there. So that's what happened.
Let me answer.
And in doing that for 2014, the key to accomplish what Superintendent Rizzo said he wanted to do, which was more permanent road improvements, he said, how much money do you have in chips? And the town gets around, the highway budget receives around $80,000 a year, roughly, in CHIPS money, which is from the state of New York, and it's based on the number of miles in the community. That money had been rolled over for a while in Monroe, so there was about $278,000 sitting in the CHIPS account. And I said, well, if you want to use CHIPS, that will allow you to get an extra pool of cash here to do some more work. And so the work that was done was Orchard Drive and Mountain and Park and Woodlawn, and that was a lot of money that was spent up there on reclamation and then putting down binder. That was all, and that was contracted out, and that was accomplished. That was accomplished in 2014 with the CHIPS money. Now, the thing about CHIPS money is, after you spend it, you can file for reimbursement. So we didn't get the CHIPS projects done soon enough in 2014 to get the money back in 2014, but it finally got filed. Actually, I think and it really got filed like around in January. So the town will be receiving from the state in the DB fund $274,000. That's the CHIPS money, and that money is available to do work in 2015. So 2015 highway budget has over $500,000 in it for permanent road improvements. I don't understand what the problem is here. We've got, the town board was in with all of this. The town board was was in favor of doing these things, and ultimately the highway superintendent had to go along with it because it's his budget, and that's what we did. And so that's where we stand. So permanent road improvements, we're looking really good. I don't know exactly when the CHIPS refund is going to come in. I hope it comes in earlier in the year rather than later, so that we can actually do it on road work and not be doing road work in the end of October.
Well, one quick thing about road miles. We went over in the back there, and I've talked to you about this. The Village of Monroe has approximately 30 miles of road.
Correct.
We have a little less than 60. We have 56 miles of road.
We take care of 56 when you include KJ, plus the 6.5 miles that we do.
So that's 56 total.
Like 56.
Okay.
Center Lane.
Now, when you, Center Lane miles. Now, when you look at that amount of salt that they purchased in tonnage, roughly 1,700 tons for the village.
The Village of Monroe, for this last winter, used 1,700 tons of salt for 30 miles of road.
And for less than 60 miles of road, let's use 60 as a roundabout way of looking at it, we used approximately 6,900 tons?
7,000, yeah.
So you're talking about using double the rate of salt in the same town for the same type of roads, basically. In fact, the village is even more congested, although you do have the KJ factor. But let's just say it's the same type of roads.
Same type.
You're using twice the tonnage of salt per center lane mile.
That is correct.
I mean, this is a problem. If no one wants to see it's a problem, you don't have to look at it as a fact. You can look at it as Tony's right and the town board is wrong, or you can look at it politically, whatever you want to do. But when you look at center line miles of road, salt put out on the road, you're talking about twice the rate of salt being put out on the road in the same weather pattern. You're not talking about Phoenix, Arizona. You're talking about Monroe, Orange County, the same town. This is what has been a big problem, because salt costs $68 a ton.
Right.
And you're spending a lot of money that wasn't authorized. What is the reason for it? It only can cause trouble with we have Ward still here, with the environment, with the water. If you want to just look at this with blinders on, go ahead. We're all going to pay for it at the end of the year. Either it's going to be raised taxes or less money in fund balance. Someone's got to cover what's happened to us. So this is the only point people are trying to make on the board. And I wish that people would just think about it logically and understand what the comptroller's worked out and why you had to have a $360,000 transfer loan from the A fund to the DA fund to eliminate the deficit due to the unauthorized overspending of the highway superintendent. That's basically it in a nutshell.
That's correct.
So actually, if our highway superintendent had followed the same pattern as the Department of Public Works superintendent in the village, we could have had safe roads for half the price.
That sounds like about right.
And by the way, the village highway superintendent stated that they did not go over budget in overtime.
And one last thing, and that is, last Tuesday, there was a very small snow incident. No DPW or highway department in Orange County had a call out, except for one department. The town of Monroe had a full call out.
Full call out.
3 did not show up, I believe. Mr. Rizzo had an entire call out, salted the place, the entire unincorporated part of the town, salted it, while no other DPW or highway department was called out. The lone exception was Town of Chester, called out 2 people because there was an issue of slush somewhere, but we immediately tracked it down and we found out that Mr. Rizzo was the only highway department in Orange County that had a call out. Now what does he know, or What doesn't he know that makes what he did so unique?
The-
And
the
how
wor-
much did that cost the town? Close to what, Peter?
The worst part about it is that after 2.5 months of going over budget, where the controller spoken to him, where we've all tried to reach him, we had to actually have our lawyer send him a letter in order to get him to come in here. After all that was going on the final snow day of the season, he still showed no respect to taxpayers' money, called everybody in and put the salt out, but nobody else was doing it. It's almost like he's saying, I don't really care about your tax money, and I really don't care. I'm going to stick it to you. I have a difficult time. I have difficult time determining his motivation. So I'll try not to determine his motivation. But if he's out there, maybe he's spoken to some people, and this is behind it. But you're looking at the facts. He could have kept these roads safe. We would all been fine at half the amount of salt. And that's what's before us now. So I ask you to review the numbers and see if you come up with the same conclusion that I come up with.
He asked about how much that call-out cost.
How much did that call-out cost?
That call-out cost around $11,500.
How much did the projector cost?
With the salt included? With the salt included?
Yeah, salt plus
11,000.
And we were the only,
Salt on the roads you didn't need.
and the town of Monroe was the only town that had a call out. That's what I'm
And I think that just about covers the old business. So if we can move on to you wish.
the cost of this versus projected.
I think that about covers old business. Can we move on? Gentlemen?
You're saying projectors was fund balance, Peter?
Capital.
Oh, capital, okay. All right, let's move on, maybe.
We're on the departmental monthly reports. We're going to suspend the departmental monthly reports that are on file.
Carly, I'd like to add under new business, education request for my office under G, the new business.
Okay.
Let me do that now. Let's do it out of sequence just so that we make sure
Get that done.
It's a request from the town clerk for the her annual conference for town clerks on June 7th through 10th in Lake George. It's for $600. It's in the budget as it usually has always been. Marianne, correct?
Well, this is not the annual town clerks conference I will be leaving for that this weekend. This is for New York State Archives, which deals with the records. So it couldn't come at a better time. My understanding is today that they brought the records up out of the basement, hallelujah, finally, into the upstairs, and we are starting the process of getting them cleaned. So this will work very well in conjunction. I have a lot of questions for when we get these records back, of making sure that everything is spent in the way they come back, that they are preserved that way going forward.
Mary Ellen, do you know how much the cost of the cleaning and the restoring the documents is?
Oh, that's...
I don't have it.
Polycon is
pull it up on my email if you want me.
It's approximately $55,000.
We'll save that for,
Yeah, it's about $55,000.
It's covered by the insurance.
It's covered by insurance, and it is the company that is doing it, is the company that New York State Archives highly recommended to do. So I am very happy that our insurance company highly recommended them also. So I just put it in. I'll make a report once we get further into this, but the process has started.
And she has a purchase order for this.
I'll make the motion that Mary Ellen, the town clerk, attends the June 7th through 10th education seminar meeting at Lake George, New York for a total cost of $600.
Second.
Call the question?
Aye.
Do you want to do whole business?
Can you do the other new business of people that needed to do things?
There's an education request for Richard Flynn and Helen Knickerbocker for seminar reporting requirements for the New York State retirement system. Any motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Do we have any specifics on this?
Yeah, I'm closing it up.
Well, the retirement system holds a meeting every year.
Where is it?
And this one is probably...
Retirement's more than it's made up of.
It's probably suffering. And the importance of the retirement system meeting is, it's when we start to find out how much it's going to cost for next year. And then any other changes that they have in terms of doing the reporting. And so if it's in Kingston this year, but it was in Suffern last year.
It's a one-day event.
It's one day,
It's
in and out.
Hours, mileage.
Yep.
It includes lunch. I'm sorry, no, it does not include lunch.
What's the cost, Howard?
So they don't know the cost.
There is no cost.
Just
It's from the
mileage.
state control. There's no cost. At least that's what this,
Just mileage and
mileage and lunch.
I'll make the motion that we send the comptroller,
it's
This,
for Bridget and Helen.
I'm sorry, the finance department, to the ladies in the finance department to this seminar.
Second.
Call the question.
Aye.
An approval to hire Webster Johnson part-time for building and maintenance. This is a spot which was vacated by the previous employee. I believe you were going to do this.
Part-time, full-time?
Part-time, at $17 an hour. Part-time, not to exceed 20.
Existing position in civil service.
Right. It fills the position that was vacated.
What's the name?
Webster Johnson.
I'll make the motion that we hire Webster Johnson part-time for building and maintenance at $17 an hour, not to exceed 20 hours a week. Part-time position.
I'll second the motion.
Call the question.
Yeah, well, he's had all his clearances, and the person that left was full-time, so, you know, this is, it's not gonna hurt our budget at all.
Is he related, has any relation to anybody currently working for the town?
I don't believe so.
No, he doesn't.
That's all, just wanted to make that clear.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval for, this is a request from the Village of Monroe for a contribution for a program that they have, a community electronic recycling and shredding program.
That's for this Saturday.
It's for this Saturday. It's a request for us to share 50-50 with their program. The request is for $550.
And there's a line in the B fund, 3989,
Now,
4,000.
Is this for recycling electronics?
This is recycling the electronics.
Okay, so everybody will be dropping them off where?
I believe it's going to, I don't know which DPW is going to have it. If it's Village,
Is it village? Does
probably
anybody know?
Village.
Yeah, and you keep dumping it until,
Is that in the village?
until it's full, and then
Village of Monroe.
Yes, it's not in the town, it's in the village highway.
Okay, I just wanted that to be clear for me.
And there's money in that line item.
Sure. Is this just for town residents, or?
Town and all the villages.
Okay.
This is in conjunction with Operation Clean Sweep
Okay.
Earth Day.
Okay.
So it's Saturday only?
Yes.
I'll make the motion that we share the cost of the electronic recycling program with the Village of Monroe for $550 on this upcoming Saturday.
You know, they used to give us money for that.
I know. You're right. They don't.
We used to get paid for that.
I'll second that.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
It's a request, Mark Jones, this is a request for a urban development area relief. This is a young lady who had been before the zoning board a while back. There was some issues in terms of compliance.
What do you mean open area development?
Sorry?
Open area development?
Yeah.
I don't know what sound of that.
What do you,
I don't know, what do you mean by open area development?
I would settle it with the attorney to look at that too. Didn't you want to do that, Bob?
Don't want any open area development.
I think it's relief from it. But why not have the attorney look at it?
That may be a good idea before we jump into it.
Mrs. Jones was here earlier. She did hear from the attorney this afternoon. So she did ask to be put on the agenda for the next meeting, and Mr. Donnelly will be updating you on this.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. We'll put it over.
the councilman, actually Councilman McWhorter, like.
Yeah, just to add some points to this. When I was on the ZBA, Mrs. Jones appeared before us. Her issue is that she wants to build a house on a piece of property that does not face a public road. That's a violation of state law. It's called 280A, section of the town law. We had given her an approval after a couple of, wow, it was actually probably about 3 or 4 months worth of meetings because it was a rather contentious neighborhood, I would say. We finally came to the point where we granted her the variance to access her property. Well, actually, it wasn't her property, it was a piece of property that adjoined hers, gave it access to a private road. Now, what we didn't know at the time, and in retrospect, our attorney should have been able to tell us that, since he was the one who wrote the change in the law, which says that once you get a variance, it's only good for 2 years if you have not made any efforts to act on the variance. So, Mrs. Jones came back to the ZBA and requested that we grandfather her into the old law, or her old variance, because it wasn't through her fault that she exceeded the 2 years. She didn't know about it at the time. It was not made clear when she got her variance from us, and the Zoning Board of Appeals was not aware of that change in the law either. When she returned to us, our counsel at that point advised us that we could not act on her request to reopen or give her an extension on the 2 years. We had to comply with the new law. And one of the only things that she had 2 avenues to approach, and they both meant coming to the town board. One of which was to ask to be grandfathered in to the new law based on the old law. And that was determined to be not the way to go by council. The second way was to approach the 280A variance as what they call an open development area. Now, I won't get into all the details of an open development area, but the last time we ever heard of an open development area in this town related to Round Lake Island, I'm sorry.
The island house.
And there was no way that that was ever going to happen as an open development area, sorry. Now, what has to happen if Mrs. Jones were to apply for this open area development? It would come before this board, and this board would have to, if they were so inclined, refer it to the planning board, who would then review that versus the 280A subset, I believe it's number 4, that deals with this particular variance. Further complicated by the fact, according to our attorney, that the land that she wishes to use for access to this private road is an easement, and that is also something that is frowned upon by the state law. So that just gives you a little background. So next month she'll be back here, or 2 weeks she'll be back, and asking that we proceed with an open area development. I hope that was clear.
Yeah. Open area development sounds threatening, but it's just one house and some small variations, and we'll take a good look at it, and I think she's going the right way.
I do have to warn you though, and that's why I used the example of Round Lake Park Island. Yeah, that was pretty well. We had pretty extensive meetings with a lot of folks wanting to speak about how that would ruin the whole atmosphere of the view shed, and it would not be good in the best interest of the residents of that part of our community. Were we to go, there has never been an open development area done in this town. And to go with something like this, the danger is you're establishing a precedent that may be fine for this particular little lot, but it could have other implications.
It'll have a past practice, and I think it'll come back to bite us down the road. It's a good
Yeah, we have to take a very close look at this.
Yeah, okay, I'm with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a request from Troop 440 for the use of various Road, for the Faber Farm. Actually, sorry, that's been utilized already. We have a request from a Patricia Grover to be hooked up to Moodna Sewer District 9. She would like to be hooked up to the sewer district. She is currently not paying a sewer. She is currently not paying for the sewer bond, but is in the sewer district boundaries. Please see the attached map. Peter, I know that there's a process if you want to get into Moodna where you have to pay for the.
Yeah, this hasn't been done for a very long time, and we've been looking for the calculations that were done in the past, because the person was, when the sewer districts were formed, residents were given the option of being included or not included in the sewer district, and so the owner of this particular parcel had elected to be not in the sewer district. So sewer district 9 has a big hole around this parcel that it's not in the sewer district. So while it's within the boundaries, it's not really in, and it's never paid anything on the bond, which there are two charges. There's, if you're hooked up, you pay, and then if you on the bond, you pay for that. So we've in the past had a formula to work out what it would cost to buy in. But before you could buy in, you had first the property had to be determined that it was within the boundaries of the district. Then there has to be a determination that there is in fact capacity in the district. And then the town board could set the amount for the buy-in, and that's kind of the steps that need to be taken.
Okay. I don't know, because council's not here, what the next step would be, plus we do not have the ability to calculate.
We don't have the numbers, so I couldn't tell you tonight what it would cost her to buy.
Is the sign
We
probably?
have our attorney talk to the Moodna attorney to discuss that.
Because they've had probably more opportunities to have to deal with this than we are. We're small shareholders.
Yes, over in Chester they had more of this, so I'll call Henry Christensen tomorrow and ask him to talk to Mike Donnelly about it.
Okay, next. The approval to create 2 part-time and 1 full-time recreational coordinators. This is to create the positions, not to fund them or to hire. Positions with civil service. This is the 2 part-time, 1 full-time recreation coordinators. This would be for the boathouse and for the movie theater.
Which is for
There's one would be for, actually they're shared. It's shared between the 2.
This is just to create the positions?
Just to create the positions.
All right, I'll make the motion to create 1 full-time and 2 part-time, was it recreation managers? What is it?
Right. Otherwise it'll fall on the supervisor to...
Recreation managers with Orange County to create the positions for civil service.
I'll second the motion.
Otherwise, you started with what, Mr. Stoll?
Otherwise what?
Well, otherwise I'll be doing the coordination for the staffing. I don't think that's...
You don't want that.
I think if that's what the board wants, that's what it is. But
Now, do we have a civil service title or description that we're working on?
It's recreation coordinator. That is a civil service title.
Okay, recreation
coordinator.
And that's the 3 titles, right? 2 part-time, 1 full-time.
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No.
The high levels, the salt has already been discussed. Also, there is a request, I think, from Mr. Rizzo. Something has to do with the water, has to do with the functioning of the wash bay. There seems to be some wash bay issues. We are under a DEC. We're under a DEC declaration that all of the trucks that carry salt are washed
In the wash bay.
in the wash basin. It would be a violation of the consent order. If we violated that, we would have severe, substantial problems. And I believe there's a request, I'm trying to locate it now, for some work that has to be done. We would not want to see any work, any desalting of those trucks outside. That would be a terrible thing. So I don't have any further information. I apologize, but I'm sure Mr. Riz is going to be getting back to us on this one.
That's just a basic
That's
idea.
a DEC consent order, so we have to
That's a law by
maintain.
DEC.
What?
That's a law by DEC, correct?
Right, violating that would be extraordinarily a bad idea.
So what is the proposal?
I'm looking, I don't have enough information for Mr. Rizzo.
There must be an amount somewhere.
I have nothing.
Work
I
that
don't
needs
have
All
to
right,
be
so what are we
done.
supposed to be doing?
Something we do, I was trying to
I
get.
haven't seen it.
Okay.
Is that work to be done on the wash bays to make them better for washing?
Right.
You know, we've had a problem with certain things with these washing of trucks
I think
in the wrong area. That's all right.
So, shall we move on?
it's operational.
All right.
Moving
Okay,
right
here it is. The wash bay drain system and exchange need to be maintained. Recommended that truck be called in as he did for the sewer issued on 3/26/15. In addition, request all basements and highway be cleaned out. Wood Mason is no longer providing the service to highway. But this is where the wash bay was, because when I spoke with DEC and discussed the consent order, obviously the wash bay was an essential part of the discussion, and whether or not there was any, whether or not it was being used, or there were alternative measures being used by highway for the cleaning of the salt, of the trucks that carry salt.
So Movement doesn't do this anymore.
No.
So that means that you have to contract with a back, someone with a back truck.
You have to contract it out.
Contract the work to do it.
Unless the village of Monroe do it.
They don't, I don't know, they have a back truck? See, we have vacuums in the street sweepers, but they're not strong enough to do these kinds of catch basins.
Well, we'll have to let him give us more information what he wants to do.
Moving it to do, we just bought it.
Movement doesn't do it anymore. It is, they refuse to do it.
No, I'm talking about
And we need to know the price and whether it's in the budget.
Is there a budget line for that, Peter? Look into that.
There's building repair and maintenance.
Okay. It would come out of
They
there.
would probably come out of there.
Okay.
What else do we have?
There's a, regarding solar projects for the town of Monroe, a discussion, if you want to, we can do that now or at a later date, because there's other things. I had spoken with Gedalia Zegedin, the administrator, for Curious Joel. Also, I sent out an email regarding the participation by any of the villages regarding the solar farm. So we would like to see if any of the villages would like to join in. It doesn't cost them anything, and they'll be able to take advantage of some of the excess capacity that we would have. They said yes. Hopefully, maybe the other villages will say yes, and whatever excess capacity that can be purchased. I don't know if that's the right word, purchased.
They buy it at a lower rate then.
Whatever the exact term is.
It's the PPA, Power Purchasing Agreement.
Yeah. I'm just trying, again, that's, but Dan and a couple of you had gone to one of the solar clinics.
Yeah, I went to it.
About 2 weeks ago, and there are a lot of things that are coming up that the town can avail itself of. If you want to discuss it, please, you were there, so.
Well, you buy power at a retail rate and you sell it back at a wholesale rate, so that's just the way it's always been set up with this. But you still do get some money back if you sell some money, sell it back. But with municipalities, you're supposed to use all that you produce within the municipality, so that's why we're reaching out.
You're not buying on a retail, you're buying on
We're reaching out to the other
There's no money to be
municipalities.
paid there.
No, right. Because it's a municipality.
There is, down the road, there's an
As a private citizen.
opportunity.
No, I mean, if you buy it at retail and sell it at
No, I know.
you lose the market.
I think there's a little bit of a line.
There's
Absolutely.
Buy high, sell low.
The point I'm making, Dennis, was that if you produce your own, in a private house or business, if you produce solar more than you use, you can sell it back to, say, Con Ed, or Orange and Rock and Con Ed Company, and you will get money back, but let's say at a lesser rate, it's called the wholesale rate. So if you produce more than you use in your facility or your house, but with a municipality, the rule is they want you to just produce what you use. That's why when you reach out to the other villages to see if they can take part in this also, to use the actual power.
Okay, thank you.
And the last is the Town of Monroe Rules of Civility discussion. So gentlemen, this is something which you had requested. That being said, I'd like to adjourn to executive discussion. Yes,
Did you do the A and B on new business?
I did. I did A and I did B, but why don't we just adjourn that? Make a motion to go into executive
For what reason?
to discuss personnel.
And then,
That's it.
all right, what about this rules of civility? Because I think there's a bit of issue.
Okay, well, go ahead.
I'm just asking, what are we gonna do with that?
You can discuss it with,
We gotta discuss it with the attorney, eh?
okay,
So we can hold that over.
okay. Where?
Yeah, we have it in front, we have the draft in front of us. Has this been circulated or is this attorney-client? I have a draft in front of me dated April the 6th.
To be circulated.
Has anybody other than the board seen it?
No.
Okay, all right, some point we have to get it out so the public gets a good look at it.
Right.
We can, they can, email us and tell us what they'd like to change.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A lot of it, to adjourn, I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss an important matter of personnel.
Thank you.
And we got a second here someplace.
I'll second it.
And then we can vote on it.
Aye.
Aye.